All right. Welcome, 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 everybody. My name is Atiba Berkeley, and I am the president of Piedmont Blues Preservation Society. I'm also the founder and creator of Blues Equity Institute, a place where we look at how we can advance culture and education in blues in the 21st century. I'm really excited to be here today. I'm going to bring some of my friends on screen here in a minute. Um, we have Blues Week happening in North Carolina on Saturday. You can find Piedmont Blues Preservation Society at Renaissance Shops. That is on Phillips Avenue near McGirt Horton Library in the city of Greensboro, North Carolina. It's going to be a free event. We're going to have lots of amazing people. We're going to have bounce house for the kids. We're going to have free hamburgers and hot dogs. We're going to have the Piedmont Blues All Stars playing music on the city show wagon, and just kind of have a little kickback and have some fun on a Saturday. So we hope you join us for that. Um, I'm going to go ahead and get to the meat of the matter and invite some people on. First person I'm going to invite on is our wonderful host moderator today, Mr. Lamont Pearley. So here we go. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, my brother. How are you?
Doing really well. I'm glad you could be here today. I'm excited. It's funny. The first time we did this, it was so unique of an experience. I think a lot of people hadn't seen something like it, and I'm excited to do it again. You know,
Yeah, no, I
uh,
agree. Quite a few people I came across throughout the time since we've done this,
Mhm.
because I have a habit of always asking somebody when they reach out to me, how did you hear about me? What how did you what made you want to contact me? And they saw us do this.
Oh,
Actually,
really?
yes,
That's amazing. See, that's why we do this. See, because we all get to the point where we kind of feel like we know each other and see each other and know what each other's up to, but it's really easy to take, like, I don't know, our access for granted, right?
right.
So not everybody knows that we're all out here working how we're working and doing stuff the way we do. So I'm glad this could be another platform, brother, that people can find you on. And thanks for lending your platform to us as well with Jack Dapper Blues. You want to tell people about Jack Dapper Blues a little bit so they
Uh,
understand your background and where you're coming from?
Sure, Jack Dapper Blues Heritage Preservation Foundation is a private foundation that does public work, and our main function is raising uh, awareness on Black folk life, folklore, material items, and everything that has to do with Black American traditions specific to the blues. So what we call our work blues narrative and blues ecology.
I love it. I love it. I know when we first met, you also had a publication that I think has gone through some evolution. That's pretty nice.
Yes, the actually it's right there. The African American Folklorist. Uh, it started out a newspaper, and it's quickly become not only a magazine but an ecosystem of resources for those who like to either or want to document, research, or have archived while renaming colonial names into what fits our indigenous names.
I love it. I love it. And just so you know, some of those early copies that you sent me are actually in the archive at the Blues office, along with everything else we've collected since 1985. So
I mean, I fail the
I have
public
at
if I
least
don't.
3 or 4 issues, maybe, of the old newspaper format.
Well, I fail the public if I don't let them know that you've written for a couple of them. So you're in a
Yeah,
few of the
I
issues.
am in. I am in an issue or two, so that's true. Maybe I'll be again. You never know.
Whenever you're ready.
Never know. So we have some artists that are joining us for this conversation today. You want to go ahead and start letting these folks in? Um, should I just open the floodgates and put everybody in?
I think we should open the floodgates, bring
All
them
right,
in.
let's do it. Are y'all all ready? Let me see a thumbs up before I get beat up. I wasn't ready. Okay. I'm not trying to get beat up. I want to be a good friend. All right. I think we are all in here. And we may have some more people joining us. Had some timing issues with time zones that I caused. So some people might be running slightly behind to get in, join us today, but I'm excited. So, uh, Lamont, I'm going to step out for a second and let you um, move forward with the rest of these introductions. I just want to thank everybody for being here today. Um, if you're looking for information about blues in North Carolina, about blues as culture, please visit piedmontblues.org. We are a membership organization. I'll be happy to have you as a member and as a supporter. So piedmontblues.org, or you can find us at Piedmont_blues on Instagram. You can also find us on Facebook at Piedmont Blues Preservation Society. But thank you all so much.
Was happening, good folk?
Hey.
Hey.
What's
So,
up, man?
all right now, I feel like I can say I know y'all, but this is not for me. This is for the people, and I'm gonna tell you, I know the people know y'all because y'all gets the work done. However, we have to make the assumption there's some people that would like to know a bit more, meaning your name, what you do, where you're from, and we're gonna start right there. I mean, yes, assuming people can read, but I still would like you to say your names, okay? Can we start with Sister Angel, please?
Sure. Hey y'all. My name is Melody Angel. I usually let people know it's my real name. It's not a stage name. It's on my birth certificate and everything. And I play guitar. I lead my own band. I sing. I write songs. I do the blues and other genres. And I'm based in Chicago, born and raised in Chicago. But I also have a lot of family down south and in Texas and Mississippi. So yeah, that's me.
Brother Dylan.
How y'all doing? My name is Dylan Triplett. I am a 25-year-old blues artist based out of St. Louis, Missouri. Most of my family is from here, but my grandmother and her siblings and stuff were born and raised in Mississippi. So they brought their way up to St. Louis around 1954. So they moved pretty, within the last little bit. So you know, trying to figure that out still, but here we are.
Here
And
we are.
I sing blues and soul, and I do a few other genres as well.
Yeah, I caught one of your videos. At that time, you had an afro. I was like, "Am I looking at David Ruffin coming back? What is going on here?"
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. The Afro phase was a fun one. I have to say, it was a fun one for sure.
Brother Sean.
Hey there, can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, I can't hear y'all. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, my name is Sean McDonald. I am 24 years old. I'm originally from Augusta, Georgia. Currently living in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, about 30 miles south of Nashville. I've been playing blues for the last almost 20 years now, just within the home and stuff like that, just being interested in the music. But mainly been touring and playing professionally for the last 3 years. Doing my first international tour back in 2023. I'm just so grateful to be um, a part of this chapter of the legacy of this music because I had ancestors that played this music. And it just means so much to me, not only as a musician, but as a music lover to see um, young black blues musicians like ourselves carrying this legacy on, mainly because of the fact that I'm connected to it through blood, but just as someone who has such a big respect for the music, it makes my heart, as my mom says, go pitty pat to see all of us doing what it is that we're doing. But I'm just grateful to be a part of it.
I mean, you said quite a few things we could just start from, but first we have to acknowledge you just won an award, or
A Blues Music
Something
Award.
like that.
Uh-huh,
I mean,
uh-huh.
let's talk about it.
Well, I put out my first record, Have Mercy, back in October on the Little Village label. And it just recently won the Best Emerging Artist Album Award at the BMAs.
Right.
Which, for it to only be out for the last 7 months. Thank you. Only for it to be out for the last 7 months, for people to recognize it and to be digging it the way that they're digging it. It really means a lot to me because I know we put a whole bunch of work into this record. 3 days worth of work, but it was still a good bit of work. You know, the dedication and the work that was put into it. It was really wonderful to see it get recognized like that. So I'm just grateful, and I'm glad that people are digging what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. So that's within the last couple of days. But last summer, you also won something from Just Blues, right?
I won the BB King Tribute Award. I think it's the King of the Blues Award. So yeah,
Right.
it's
Somebody racking them up.
yeah. I'm still in shock about everything. Like I said, I'm just glad that the people like me so much that they're willing to recognize me and my record for these awards. So I'm very grateful, very grateful.
So let's start with a couple of things that you said. So for this round of questions, I would like to start the way I asked you all to introduce yourselves. After that, it'll be more of a conversation, and you know how black folks go. Just jump in, So there's two topics I want to talk about. One having to do with elders by blood, and one having to do with fan. And fan is a very strange word, but a lot of times I haven't really heard many people as of recent talk about the music. And mind you, I follow all of you, so I know it's true for y'all, just to be clear. But I don't hear a lot of artists talking about how they're just actually fans of music, right? So before we're going to start there, then we get into the blood and ancestors and stuff. But just how significant is it as a whole, and how significant is it for the three of you just to actually be fans and someone who just loves and appreciates engaging music? How important is that?
Well, I mean, for me, I think that because I taught myself how to play, and that means just listening to a ton of music, right? When you're playing by ear, you really have to listen intently to music. So I don't know, I think it just automatically made me more connected to music because I was really just listening to every little bar of it, trying to figure it out, and it built this deep connection to the songs. And I grew up with YouTube, so I had like these videos of all these old concerts of all the greats, and I would just watch them all day long, even in school, because but I paid attention. I did good in school, but I'm just saying, I would be watching those live concerts and be like, wow, look at that and hear that. So I think just when you play an instrument or when you're really into music, you're more deeply connected because you're also learning. I wasn't just listening to listen like the average listener. I was listening to maybe sound like that one day or sound closer to that. So I think that had an effect on me for sure. And I think that's why I love music so much. I go to shows that I'm not even in. It's live, I'm there. I even go to the symphony. So it's just like, I think I just have such a respect for music because I've listened to it my whole life and seen how incredible it can be when it's done right.
Brother Dylan?
Can you repeat the question, please?
How important, how significant, just the idea of not even before performing or wanting to perform, how significant is it just being a fan of music, enjoying and engaging it?
Oh, it's everything for sure. I think that it's like Melody said. I think that it's the spark that gets a lot of musicians going. I have to say that I found a lot of inspiration in just about everything, and I still do constantly. And I think that's I think that's the point that holds us, and that has us, as they say these days, have us in a chokehold. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's just the constant remembering and going back and falling in love with this thing over and over and over again. It's like a committed relationship almost. You know what I mean? Like, you have to continue to find reasons for why you love this. You have to continue to dig deeper within yourself to figure out why you love this thing so much, and what is it that drives the passion for you. And I do believe that it takes being a good listener and a good fan to be able to, or a good supporter of the music, to be able to appreciate and to go as far as to create your own as well. So
Dig it. Dig it. Sean?
Well, I've been a music lover all my life, so this, it's natural for me. Even before I was born, my pops was playing jazz music for me in the womb. So I think that coming at it from that kind of of a perspective is very important, because you get a sense of what it is that you would want to hear as a musician. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are certain things that you got to think about it. We're playing for ourselves first, and then we play for the band, and then we're playing for the people that are listening. So as someone who is as a music consumer, there are certain things I know I want to hear in my blues. There are certain things I know I don't necessarily want to hear in my blues. So why would I waste my time putting things in it that I don't dig as a music lover? You see what I'm saying? So as somebody that consumes the music and is first and foremost a music lover, it's very important to establish that kind of relationship, because then you get a sense of, like I said before, what your audience will want to hear. And sometimes necessarily the things you want to hear might not be what the audience wants to hear. But you always have to come from it, from that kind of a perspective. Um, just because, like I said, you don't want to waste nobody's time up there. You really don't. You want to come from a place of love, from a place of respect, from a place of honesty, from a place of honor. Just because of how long of a lineage this music is, and how important this music is to the culture and to the history of this country and to the history of the world in general. So you always have to make sure you have that kind of integrity as a musician and as a music lover.
I dig it. So with those three things being shared, let's get into, because melody, and I mean, I know just based on following you, but you shared that you play all genres. Like, you just recently uh did a reimagined "Dear Mama" by Tupac, right? And I've seen you do stuff like that with a multitude of songs. Um, as a so, do we all agree that the blues is the root, though?
For sure. It's underneath every American genre that there is. It's the base of every single American genre, which is Black music. It's underneath rock and roll. It's underneath R&B, soul, country, folk, all of it. Jazz, all of it. Gospel,
reggae, all of it.
reggae, everything. It's the base. And even from other cultures, when you talk to historians, they will tell you that American music changed how other countries developed their music. So even though it didn't technically start in America, it was motivated by the bass, and the bass will always and forever be the blues.
You know what? I want to. Great answer, by the way. Thank you. I want to go into the reggae aspect, because when you listen to old dance hall and reggae, it's a lot of, I don't want to say reimagined, but the Caribbean version of actual blues and rhythm and blues songs. Talk to us about that, because you threw that out there.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I would say it's there's a lot of ties, and we can go into it, like, history wise, and we can go into it technicality wise too, because if you want to go down the technicality route, a lot of, like, a decent amount of reggae tunes, especially if they're traditional reggae, they have a form that they follow. You know what I mean? Everybody's going through their form, but 9 times out of 10, it's a 1-4-5 form. You know what I mean? Like a 1-4 form, any of that, and it's all being used in that same way to where it still applies to blues. You know what I mean? It all ties together. So yeah, that's more so where the reggae side of things come into play. Also with the syncopation of notes and stuff like that, and it being almost a homeland feel, it has a lot of influences that come from that as well. So yeah, I would say that there's a lot of it that ties over into the blues, but I would say more so the just the technicality behind it. You know what I mean? And it's also their version of the. We were just talking about this in our previous meeting that we were having about how the blues was created, and then what did he say? He said the blues being created and then rap being added on top of that is just an overexpression of black experience. You know what I mean? Reggae music is the same exact thing. It's an expression of black experience. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, no matter where you go, it's gonna point right back to the North Star every time.
Right.
Every time.
So every time. So Sean, let's take it from there, because you everyone said this, but you were saying that this is you're a descendant by blood, you know, and I love that conversation because I believe there's two types of people. There's blues people and there's blues music people. Blues people are the folk that are descended by blood. Blues music people is everyone else who likes to engage in whatever way they would like to. Talk to us about that connection and what makes that connection. You know what? I'm not even gonna lead you. Talk to us about that connection.
Well, so my great grandfather, one of them, his name was Stoney McDonald, and his father, Benny McDonald Sr., who they call Stacker Dollar, was an owner of a juke joint. So my grandpa Stoney, his real name was Benny McDonald Jr. He and his brother Leon were both guitar players, and they played in their father's juke joint. Until the point where they made someone a promise that I think either when someone passed or when the juke joint closed or something like that, they would, become deacons and play in the church. And so after, they held true to their promise and became deacons in the church. My grandpa stayed in what is it? Grady County, not Grady County. I can't remember the name of the county, but he stayed in Arkansas, and then his brother ended up going to Alabama. And so, but they were known for playing in the church. And I featured that on my record with my cover of "Don't Let the Devil Ride" because my great grandfather used to play that all the time at Sunday morning services. So because of that kind of a connection on the other side of on my dad's mom's side, her grandfather, he played banjo and they call it it's a diddley bow, but they call it a string guitar. They didn't, that's all they called it. But having that kind of a connection and continuing the music that those people did, whether they be grandparents or close friends or whatever, what have you, is very important because it's a continuation of something that we've always done as African American people, as members of the African diaspora. There are always certain traditions that get passed on, whether it be, orally or orally or, physically, certain things that we all do as people that get passed on from generation to generation. So, and honestly, we're continuing the tradition of the griots. So we're storytellers. This is what comes natural to us. And I think we're all somehow handpicked to do certain things like this, where that's what blues people know. But the blues music people, they don't necessarily understand that because they weren't born into a tradition like that. So it's very important as people, especially as people who are connected by bloodline, but just as people who have connections in this music and things like that, it's very important for us to keep those kinds of traditions going. As we know, the first recordings of this music was made about almost 100 years ago at this point. Well, over 100 years ago at this
Over,
point.
yeah.
Yeah, and so, but we all know that as blues people, we all know that just because the recordings were made a little over 100 years ago doesn't mean
Don't
that
mean
this
it wasn't
music
being
wasn't
done.
here longer than that. You see what I'm saying? So there are more, it doesn't just start with W.C. Handy and Mamie Smith. It goes back way further than than what's been put down on wax and what's been put down on vinyl and things like that. So I just think that if those who are connected to it by blood, those who are connected to it through DNA and things like that, we have a even bigger responsibility to keep this music going than others. But we all have to do our part in general.
So I want to take it from there because I want to talk about nostalgia in a second, but actually this is a good way to get into nostalgia, as well as get into what's traditional. And when I say nostalgia, taking blues to the future or keeping it what purists think it should be from 100 years ago, right? And then and we could break this down in multiple ways. But I want to throw a general question out to see what y'all feel, because I believe as blues by blood folk, we can pretty much we have the authority and the birthright to pretty much say what is blues and what isn't, right? Okay, so now with that being said, can blues evolve to where it may not sound like what people think blues is supposed to sound like? I'll start there.
You trying to get into some trouble here, Lamont? Is that what we all in on this together here tonight? Because first of all, I have no such fears, so we all good. But I think that whenever I've heard this conversation be had, it's always something that's not said that should be said right in the beginning. Yes, we are blues people. It is literally in our bloodline. I can trace my lineage back through the centuries of literal blues men and women who did this thing with their lives. However, none of us on this call, and most of us that look like us, run the blues industry. We don't actually call the shots. So we could say what the blues is and what is not, and we will and we do represent, because our ancestors deserve that from us at minimum. But any real conversation about this has to be about how we gain real authority in this genre so that it can evolve in the way it's supposed to. Because my great I don't know how it go, great cousin was Otis Rush. And when he was doing the blues, he was one of the first people to like add horns and stuff, like a horn section to his blues. So like when they spoke about the blues, like he over his house, it was ridiculous, right? It was just, Lil Walter was over there, Muddy Waters was over there in the basement, and they hanging out, and I'm forgetting a whole bunch of names. Buddy Guy was there as well. So like they were there, and it was just evolving. They were just making it up. I'm gonna add this, I'm gonna do this. They were free to do that. And the moment it crossed over and everybody started doing the blues, it stopped evolving. Because then it's like, if you try to evolve and somebody can't keep up with you, then that's going to be a problem. But the whole purpose of the blues was for it to evolve. That's the whole purpose. It's supposed to come with us as we grow, as the generations change over. And there's no way that I can play the blues like they did when I grew up with R&B and soul and funk and hip hop, how could I possibly organically, originally be true to myself and not have those influences involved in my music as well, in my blues, right? And so I just think that if we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it. But the main thing, keep it the main thing. We need to actually build some kind of power within this genre if we want to take it to the next generation and beyond, because whoever's running it now wants it to stay the same. And I've seen that throughout my career, which is why I play other genres.
I have so many questions, but I want the rest of the panels to get. When I say so many questions, I want you to expound on certain things, but I want the rest of the panel to get in on this. And you don't have to worry about it. We got your back. But you from Chicago. You don't need us, but we got you.
I wholeheartedly agree with everything she just said. I 1000% agree. And honestly, it's going to look even more different in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, with everything that's happening with technology and the way that music instruments are changing and they're making new instruments and people are implementing new sounds and new things. It's only going to change from here. You know what I mean? Like people started going like back in the day, whenever the first Leslie, a person was playing guitar through a Leslie, that sound triggered a lot of music. You know what I mean? But then a lot of people started using it. Then it started becoming it was a pedal after that point. You know what I mean? And now it's an accessible thing for everybody to use. But then, you know, like she said, it's like just because of the fact that they didn't know that stuff was new and innovative, like how we know now, does not mean that it wasn't as innovative as it is right now. You know what I mean? In that sense, like I feel like we could have. I say this all the time. I feel like two things can be true at the same time. I feel like we can have a mix of old stuff, traditional stuff, and I feel like we can have a list of new things and mix the two together and find a way to be able to bridge the gap between it all so that it doesn't. I get it, like the traditionalists are how they are, and then the extreme newer people that they're like that. You know what I mean? And it's fine. But like you said, it's all blues. It doesn't matter how you cut it. You know what I mean? If it's something that has been written by a person that is doing this sector the way that we do it, it's all the same exact stuff. It's gonna have some overlap regardless of where we at.
Go ahead, Mac. What's up, Mesa?
Hi, how are you?
All right, and you, Sammy, say hello. Mac, hey, Carly, how you doing?
Hi.
I would, if the two of you don't mind, I would like to get the last answer, and then I'll ask you two to introduce yourself. Okay?
Sure.
Go ahead, Mac.
Could you repeat the question one more time?
Can the blues evolve to a sound that doesn't sound like what we think the blues could be, but because it's coming from blues people, is it still blues?
I feel like Dylan. I do feel like Dylan spoke on something when he said both things can be true at once. Being someone whose sound is very quote unquote traditional, but somebody who's very much in the modern age and is bringing this kind of vintage sound back to um, not just blues music, because well, not particularly blues music, because there are a lot of bands that are traditional and they do some of the same stuff that I do, but being a black artist that does it, you know, we're in a space where there are not a lot of black artists that do it. It's very um important for me, you know. But I do feel like it will get to a point, just because based off of what we've seen within the evolution of the music in the last 100 years of recorded music, and seeing how it's changed over the years, going from um, blues music to R&B music to rock and roll music to soul to funk to jazz to hip hop to, you know, just the whole transition of it all, and it's still continuing to evolve. Like I said on the last phone call we were on, matter's never created nor destroyed. It's just changes form. So the music that we're playing, while some of it is very traditional and some of it, goes back to what it was, you have examples of folks that are playing what the blues was before it was even known as the blues, like a Blind Boy Paxton, or you have folks that play the music when it was in its first heyday with all the acoustic stuff, like a Jontavious Willis, or like a Tevis Hodge, or like a um, then you get to the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, where it's an R&B thing, and that's my side of things. Guys like Dylan, they can span a whole bunch of decades and a whole bunch of ways that it's changed through soul and funk and R&B and stuff like that. And I can very well keep up with Dylan because y'all have seen me play with Dylan before. So, um, as much as I think that it should evolve, yes, just because of we're a very evolving people. We've always been, we don't always stay stuck in one place. Those that get stuck in one place get left behind. So, while we do have that capability, yes, um, I feel like there are some people who should be able to show what it was and what it used to. You have to know where you come from to know where you're going. So I think that there are ways that we can evolve, yes, but there are ways that we can go back and say, okay, this is what it was, this is where we come from, and this is where we can take it to. So that's what I have
Okay.
to say about that. Mm-hmm.
No. Because I got a following question, but I would like our two new panelists to introduce themselves. So please state your name, Miss Joy, your age if you don't mind, and who are you? Where are you from? What are you into? And then afterward, Miss Harvey.
Hi, I'm Maza Joy. I'm 16 years old and I'm a blues singer. I'm from St. Louis.
I'm Carly Harvey. I'm from DC. They call me DC's Queen of the Blues, and I advocate for Afro-Indigenous visibility in the blues community as blues people. Um, and yeah, and I'm 40, but I don't look 40. So I'm a little older than you guys, but I only just turned 40, so.
Okay, well, I dig that, and I definitely am an advocate for Afro-Indigenous spaces in the blues because a lot of the sounds come from that. Because my peoples on both sides of Louisiana, Mississippi was there before it was Louisiana, Mississippi, when it was actually Indian territory. But that's not what we're talking about today. But I had to throw that out there. But no, I have to ask this question because I am a traditionalist. Now, I like all kinds of music, particularly all kinds of black music, but I can listen to anything that catches me, right? But I am a traditionalist in a sense that there's certain nuances, there's certain things that has to be present for it to be considered. So, with that being said, because I don't like to lead, is there a distinct anything to make it kind of open for it to be a blues? Now we go ahead. Somebody jump in. I'm not calling no one no more.
Yes, I think so. And one, I also want to say, Anika Chambers says to say hi to all of you guys, which I forgot to say that.
What up, Sister Chambers?
No, but I think authenticity has to be present in order for it to be blues. I think I witness a lot of, I don't want to say mimicking, but like imitation, where like sometimes I'll watch something and I'm like, did they watch the Mammy off of Tom and Jerry? And they're just kind of like, like, does anybody know what I'm talking about? The Mammy from Tom and Jerry, who's like, Thomas, and she puts her hand in her hips. And it's kind of like, that's this idea of like, I'm being a sassy Black lady. And like, and it just doesn't read authentic. And I think like, if it has to be blues, it has to read authentically, meaning you revere and respect where it comes from. And you sing from your soul. Like, this is deeply connecting music. Like, you're connecting your feet to your toes into like the roots of the ground. And that's what's coming out of you. And for me, you can sing the right notes, you can sing the right blues scale, you can do all the right runs. If that's not present, then that's not in a mean way, but in a like, in order for me to feel it felt as blues, that's the key ingredient for me.
Jump in, y'all. I'm not calling on. That was a great answer, Carly. Jump in, y'all. And Larry Batiste said, awesome. Love this discussion. Jeffrey, I can't see the last name. Love this. So many familiar faces. Mac be knowing his stuff, Jeffrey says. We all be seeing you, bro. You be Vicky Guy, YouTube recreators. And that's coming from the comment section for the folks that are joining us, just so y'all know. All right, somebody jumping on that question. Is there something distinct? Go ahead, sir.
If I can give an example of that, I went to a certain event. I think this was last year. I'm not going to, speak on what that event was, but when we were coming back to Nashville, I was riding with one of the members of the board of the Blues Foundation. And I was like, he was like, so how'd you enjoy it? And I was like, it was great to see my friends. It was great to jam with them and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I didn't like what I heard while I was there. And I was like, I just don't, and that's putting it nicely. That's a lot nicer than what I actually said when I was down there. But I was like, I really didn't dig the stuff that I heard. And so and I was like, I've never been able to put it in words. And what he said was, it's like watching someone do a bad impression of you in front of your face. And I was like, that's it. That's what I've not liked about this whole time, and it's not just with that event. It's certain times when I see things that happen here in Nashville or certain festivals and things like that. And it's like, excuse me, even seeing some of the lineups on some of the festivals where it's like you literally have these capable musicians, these wonderful and these talented Black blues musicians that can do exactly what you're looking for and what you're paying for. But here you are getting this microwavable version of what it is, of the soul food that you actually want.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that you, and like Ms. Vicky Guy said in here, you're trying to force a feeling, and sometimes until you've been through some of the stuff that these people are singing about, you can't force that feeling. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was young singing stuff about a Hoochie Coochie Man and Stormy Monday and this, that, and the other, and and hadn't been through nothing for real. But when I actually went through some stuff and wrote some songs on my own and was actually able to connect what I was singing about to what I was going through, that makes a difference, and that makes it much more genuine. There has to be a sense of
conviction,
of genuineness into. I know that's probably not a word, but it has to.
It's the word now, bro.
Exactly. There has to be a sense of that, because if not, then don't nobody, especially the folks that are blues people, don't nobody care about what you're singing. Nobody cares about what you're singing. But you have a lot of people who are trying to force a feeling and they overdo it. And to me, it's just, that ain't nothing. That ain't nothing. But knowing, like playing behind Dylan, knowing where some of that stuff and that hurt and that pain comes from, I've gone through it. I've seen it, and I know that Dylan's seen it. And so we can connect on that kind of a level. But you have, like I said, there's some folks that just won't get it. And everybody has the blues. So we got the blues about different things, but it's certain instances where it's deeper than just, oh, my woman left me, or my dog left me, and my all that stuff. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with everything he just said. It's like there's a certain level of, there's a thin line between being genuine and being, and trying too hard to try to make it work. And it's very easy to cross that line. You know what I mean? That you kind of have to know when to put the paintbrush down when it comes to blues, because you can't lay it on too thick, can't lay it on too thin. You know what I mean? It's got to be just right, and it looks easier than it actually is. You know what I mean? A lot of people try to do this, and it looks easier than it is, and they get up there, and it's not easy at all. But that's because it's like when you've been conditioned for something like this, you've been conditioned to tell what it's supposed to sound like. And I'm not saying that everything, like we talked about earlier, everything's not gonna sound the same. You know what I mean? But if it don't sound right, and I don't it's just there's something in your brain that's just telling you like, nah, this don't feel right. Like this is not it. This is not it. And you just, and it's unsettling almost, It's very slightly, not by much, but just unsettling because it's like you know what it's supposed to, like you said, you know what it's supposed to sound like, you know what it's supposed to feel like, and it's really more of anything a feeling for real. It's really it's a very strong feeling that comes from some real blues when you get it.
But isn't that like a part of being honest about what you're doing? Like when you're pulled to a sound, I love a lot of genres of music. I never denied. But I was pulled to the blues. I heard it and it did something to me. And so when I sang songs, Ball and Chain, for hearing that on YouTube, the version of course Big Mama and Buddy Guy is playing in the background with her, that version of the video. When I heard that the first time, it pulled me in and I felt something that I hadn't felt before. And it made me want to play it. I want to play this song. I want to feel this. I want to get into this. And then I start soloing over it and I feel more. So, but I was honest. That was an honest reaction. There's a lot of people, or maybe not a lot, I don't know, but there's enough of them that just decide they're going to do the blues because they know some people that can connect them and get them up on stage, and it's easier than trying to get into this genre or that genre. So I'm going to go to a blues club and try to get on, that kind of thing, that kind of mentality. So when you come into it for the wrong reasons, that's an example of the wrong reason. You'll never be connected to it like you are supposed to be, which is why you don't connect to other people. So I just feel like the way if something is the blues or if you should be in the blues, did it pull you in? Or was it just something easy to get into, so you did? You know what I mean? And so for me, it's about being honest about why you're doing something, because I've definitely, like Mac was saying, I've definitely felt that, I call it the ick, when something like that goes down and you just be like, I don't like this at all. But the way you described that is exactly how I felt. Like somebody was pretending to be me horribly and making money off of it. And it's just a horrible feeling all around, because like, well, couldn't I have been up there instead? Or couldn't my friend and them over there sitting out in the, so yeah.
So essentially, we're talking about cosplaying the blues.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there's multiple ways of cosplaying the blues. There's everything we just discussed, but then there's the black glasses, kind of like what was that movie with Dan?
The Blues
Aykroyd?
Brothers.
Blues Brothers.
Blues Brothers.
But can we now, Melody? You done said be honest 10 times, so I'm gonna have to ask an honest question. I don't know if y'all really want to, because we can't let black folk off the hook. Just because you blues people don't mean you can do the blues. Not y'all. Y'all obviously the blues. We not talk about you, but and I say that because when we talk about honest experiences, and I've never picked cotton. So I can't sing like or play like someone who's picked cotton, because it's a different experience, right? Go ahead, just jump right in.
Okay, so the young man that you mentioned,
yes,
before we got on the call. So one of the reasons why we got on him was because he said something to the effect of, don't don't blues musicians always speak of poverty? And don't they speak of, having lack of? And I'm like, well, some of them did. And he would be like, well, didn't such and such work on the plantation and blase, blase, blase? Like, shouldn't you as a blues musician be able to connect to that? I told him, I said, look here. My father was in the military. My mother works in healthcare. My mama makes good money. My daddy makes good. He does what it is that he does for the community and stuff like that. I've never had to go with. I've always had a roof over my head, clothes on my back, and food in my belly. I can never relate. I can never write a song about going without because that's just how it is. But you have some folks who will swear up at like, and it's not just with blues music. You have folks that would do things like that in hip hop music where they had to get out the mud. But you're a Huxtable. You come from a 2-parent household.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about it.
It's
the whole street life thing. The whole street life thing. That fake
and
thing,
so,
and you from the suburbs.
Yeah.
I just don't dig that. But as someone who's a blues person, Nina Simone said the best when she said that an artist's duty is to talk about the times. So whether that be what's going on in the world or what's going on in your world, like me personally, I had a moment where I was going through depression and I wrote a song about it and it helped me get through it, and it's on the record. And I knew that a lot of people were going to relate to that, but those are my blues. I can't necessarily say that. Yes, I like these songs. I don't know what Muddy Waters was going through when he was writing some of them songs that he was writing or singing some of them songs that he was singing. Same thing with Howlin' Wolf. So we have to get out of that where folks that consider, okay, it has to be this and it has to be that and it has to be this. No, because that means that I'm going off of somebody else's blues. And that's not authentic to myself.
Exactly.
That's not me being genuine.
Go for what you know.
So does that also, because it's like a double-edged sword, right? It's the people that we spoke about that run the industry, and then we have blues people that see what we see in regards to not getting the big stages, so to speak. So they kind of dress the part, I would say, right? What do y'all? Go ahead. I'm not. I put it out there. Whoever.
I mean, but my point, that was the point I was making from jump, is that the real conversation starts when we start discussing how we're going to be put in the driver's seat, when we become the gatekeepers and we're allowed to be exactly who we are and get as many opportunities as everyone else. One thing I tell people all the time, especially for Black folks, is that equality will not be given to us out of the kindness of anyone's heart. Okay, that's never going to happen. We have to be willing to take it. We have to be willing to be the ones that are putting on more festivals. We have to be the ones that are starting more record labels and publishing companies. We have to step into these gaps for our community, not to push anyone out, but to give equality to those of us who are connected to this by blood. And it is a part of our lineage and our legacy. And so in order for that to happen in the future, everybody on here is super talented. Love what you do. But we have to also be the business people on the back end of this thing so that we can give this generation, the next generation, and so on, a pathway. Because if things stay the same, right now you have us on one side and the people that make the decisions on another side. And these two sides do not agree, right? And so what we need to do is be able to come to that other side and be at the table where decisions are made. And that's where change happens. And that's what I want us to hopefully accomplish.
So are you saying we need to be at their table with our stuff?
No, we need to be at a table, period. Our table, a table, any table,
our own table.
There is no table.
And I'm not, I'm not calling you out, sis. But the reason why I asked that, because what you said was 1,000,000,000% correct, but it sounds crazy. We are fighting for equality for our own stuff.
Yeah, but we
blood.
are. Yeah,
that's
it's
crazy.
That is crazy. I mean, it's no doubt. What I just said is insane. That
but it's
sounds
real.
ridiculous,
It's true.
but it is completely accurate. And
It is
so
completely
because
accurate.
it is, we have to step up into roles. You know, I was talking to somebody else the other day, and it's just like, I know that this isn't how you envisioned the music business, but you have to figure out how to be a business person too, and think long-term about yourself and your community. And that's what we all have to do. We got to step into role. I didn't know how to do anything when I started. I taught myself how to record, how to mix, how to master my own stuff. I taught myself how to edit videos and make videos and do all the things. We have to do these things if we want to continue and hopefully give ourselves equal opportunity. That's what it's about. It's not about pushing anybody out, because anytime I talk about this, you always got a group of people, and we know who they are. And they'll say, oh, you sowing division, and you don't want them in your genre, and all of this segregation, and what, all of the ridiculousness.
Right.
If how many times do I have to say equality? Equality. This is about equality. You gotta like say it over and over at the end of each sentence, or they'll tell you that, oh, you're sowing division. Because here, and I'll finish here, because I just want to say this before I don't. I'm in Chicago blues, right? That's my environment. It has almost broken me to see the amount of older musicians that have poured their blood, soul, and tears into this genre and be thrown $50 gigs, $100 gigs. They traveling all over the little city, and they in their 70s and 80s. That is outrageously a shame.
For real.
But it happens in every city where there's blues. And they die broke. And we got to put together GoFundMes to bury them.
Yeah.
And that is because we don't have an infrastructure that cares about their lives. They only care about them when they was out and about and doing all the things. Everybody's not Buddy Guy.
Well, no,
and got that, you know, that happens. And we love that he's there and that he's taken care of and that his flowers are being given. We love that. But there are thousands of folks that don't get nothing. And we have to do something about it.
Can we keep it a buck then? First of all, what's happening, Sister Carla? Carla shouted everybody out. Y'all know Carla Robinson. She keep us all employed. Because we have to call it out then, because ultimately what we're talking about, you know, how many of y'all know Zora Neale Hurston?
Yep.
How many of y'all know W.E.B. Du Bois? Zora Neale Hurston sent a letter to W.E.B. Du Bois trying to put together a benevolence fund for folk like us. And he never responded. Now, of course, this is before he kind of saw the woe of his ways, but this is not about him. This is about the fact that we're talking about 100 years of recorded music, 100 years of Black folk expressing our tradition, and this is still happening, right?
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things that is unfortunate about it is the fact that we hey, what's up, Miss Pearley? Sorry. I'm just seeing people say. One of the unfortunate things about it is we've given, and you said this, Melody, but I want us to talk about it more. We've given too much power to non-blues people.
I don't know about giving power.
Yeah, we never had it.
I said they assume power.
You know,
we never. So wait.
They built the infrastructure. So Lamont, they built the infrastructure. We were out there creating, and while it was being created hundreds of years ago, they were building the infrastructure to monetize it, which is what happens to Black culture across the board. So this isn't anything new. It's like anything else. We have
Okay.
to
Yes.
build an infrastructure like they did to give ourselves equality, and there's no other way around it.
So there are, prior to the what is this called? The when the white people got into the blues in the 60s, the folk revival, right? Prior to the folk revival, there was a lot of black labels. You know, we had Dolphins of Hollywood, we had Motown, we had the folk in, right, the folk King, with the folks in Cincinnati. We can go down the list, right? And then we had that was in Gary, Indiana, I think. But they said they were out of Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. Do you think the idea of integration and the idea of I can't even say a global fan base, because as you can see through the British invasion, we always had a global fan base. So I guess the question I'm asking is what prevents us from, I mean, you just said this, Melody, but I want to put the question to everyone. What prevents us collectively to create an infrastructure of our own birthright? Because I find it ridiculous that we're still acting someone else. And I'm not saying that's what y'all are doing.
Listen,
Well, it's the
because
fact that
yeah,
we
you go ahead, man.
got in our own way
Yeah.
to an extent. For 30 years, blues music was the most popular music within the black community, whether we knew it or not. From the 1920s, when it first started being recorded with Mamie Smith, till the 50s, where you had, we all know the greats that were there, you know, at that point, some form of blues music was the most popular form of music within the black community. And then once Motown started coming around, we got away from it, which is terrible because we're the ones, because whether we know it or not, we're the ones that determine what is cool and what ain't cool in this country. We're the ones that say go when it comes to American culture. So because of how cool we thought this music was and how popular it was with us, a lot of other people, whether they be blues people or not, were already hip to what it was that we were doing as far as the music is concerned. So that's why you were able to have something like a British invasion, where they were playing their music based off of what it was that we were doing, whether it be you getting it directly from the source from somebody like a Muddy Waters or a Howlin' Wolf, or you getting it from their offspring, somebody like a Chuck Berry or a Little Richard. So you have all these different avenues for it to get out there. But because we're such an evolving people, which is again a double-edged sword, meaning that we're able to constantly create things over a period of time, but because we are so focused on creating new things, we forget about what came before that,
Stuff.
and we try and do away with that. And that's terrible, because now you have a generation of young folks who they don't get down with the blues as you know, as we know what the blues is, you know, traditional stuff. They love what they do is they dig Southern soul music, but they call it blues music because that's what their grandparents called it. That's what their parents called it. So it's hard for us. Like, I can speak for myself and for Dylan when I say it's hard for us to do certain shows and things like that, or you know, get put on certain festivals because we're doing a more traditional style of this thing. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? So it would be a whole lot easier if we could get in front of younger people and be able to build an infrastructure where this is a more popular music than what it is. Because like Melody said, and you know, like we've said before, there is you know, we're the ones that play the music, but we don't see a lot of ourselves in the audiences. And that's very disheartening. It's quite disheartening. As someone who is a music lover and someone who is a musician, it's very disheartening to see that happen. So I
Do we
think
feel
that
like
if we all
like
work
this?
together, start creating our own venues, start creating our own labels and things like that. Kingfish is already doing a great thing with Red Zero.
Yeah.
But we should figure out a way to get back to what it used to be as far as the business is concerned. Not necessarily saying that we need to revert back to what the music used to be. You know, we had, like I said earlier, I'm one of the ones that is stuck in the 50s right now as far as my music is concerned. But I think that if we get back to a place where we can depend on each other, have some kind of um, interdependence within the community of blues people, we'd be a lot better off.
Yeah, like a
So we
coalition of
now,
some sort.
so my only thing with that is that yes, we do jump from genre to genre as we create them, because we're just a creative people and we always will be. But even in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, Black people were not making money off of the music they created. The reason the British knew about our music was because of distribution being done by non-Black people. So the infrastructure was never there. They literally, even if I go back to Otis, my cousin Otis, I remember my family and all of them. He would be so angry with how he was treated. When they tell me stories about him, he was always angry because somebody was taking his money and somebody was taking putting their name on his music and running the show because they ran everything. And so there was never a time when any of them were in control of their money or their intellectual property, which was their creativity, which is why years later you get, Led Zeppelin stealing all that blues music to become uber famous and rich, right? And all of the things. So what I'm saying is the reason why we haven't ever had an infrastructure where we were in control of what we created and all of those things is because there is a huge risk. There is risk and resistance of us building this kind of coalition or infrastructure, whatever we would call it. There would be immense pushback from the people who currently hire us. So it would take a lot of courage, collective courage. It couldn't just be one person who's like, let's go do this thing, and it's two people standing there. It would have to be collective courage. And that is what, due to, just oppressive mindsets and the fear of what they'll do to us if we tried and all of that has always stopped us collectively from doing what we need to do for our community overall. And I don't know how we get beyond that, but that's the equation that needs to get solved.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to name, but there's quite a few Black artists that were blackballed, if you will, and some of them are just getting that stigma removed because they spoke out. But my issue yet again is this is our birthright. This is not what jazz has become. And so, but wait a minute. That leads me to another question. Musically, is blues political?
Yes. Always has been political, right? Because I like to talk about the origin of blues. Like, where did it start before we got instruments in our hands, right? It was in our voice, right? Either coded songs for escaping,
Yes.
evolved to joy as resistance, transmuting oppression and pain into art.
Yes.
That's political. Then I don't care if you're singing about your backdoor man, that's your right to express yourself sexually. That's resistance to oppression. It's always been political.
Yeah.
Like, and sure, it's evolved and and we have all these, I call it like different dialects of the blues. Like, you have your Piedmont and you have your Chicago and you have your Delta. Those are dialects of the blues serving the same purpose. It's in itself transmutation from pain and trauma into art, whether that is joy, whether that's, your own self-expression, whether you're actually saying something about the political state, about the state of the world, it's always political to me.
Yeah, that idea brings me to one person in particular, Billie Holiday.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Billie Holiday, her music was
Strange
very,
Fruit.
very Strange Fruit was what was eventually what sent her to her grave, unfortunately. You know what I mean? Like, if you know the story behind that song, they wanted her to stop singing that song. They chained that woman to a hospital bed and let her pass away.
Yeah.
Because she would not stop.
Black life is political. Yeah. Your life is a political talking point. All of our lives. So there's no genre we've created. So even if you look to blues, jazz, gospel, it's all political in there because we created it. And anything attached to us is political.
So I want to double back to something we were talking about, because I asked the question in one way, but I'm happy I didn't give any context because you all gave such great, rich answers. And the reason why I'm double back into this is because something that each one of you said. And young Miss Joy, you have to enter this conversation, sweetie. You can't just be sitting there smiling, because your voice, not just as a singer, but as a Black young woman, matters.
Exactly, yeah.
And if you don't speak around Black folk, you're safe here.
Thank you. I appreciate
you're welcome. You're welcome. Blues, right? As a sound, not just everything else that we discussed, authenticity, experience, right? But now what you doing here, Mr. Nika Chambers?
Somebody sent me a link.
How you? It's all right. How you doing?
I'm great. You know, I was listening to Melody and I was like, yes.
Well, just before we get to, because you threw me off. You're one of the biggest stars I know.
Whatever.
Stop that. But anyway, there is a sound and a technicality that makes it blues. Brother Dylan, you said it earlier when you was comparing reggae to it, right? The music progression.
Mm-hmm.
So and I'm like Sean, Sean, in a sense, I'm extremely traditional, but I can't run around like it's 1919 because then that's ludicrous, right? But sound wise, right? So what I'm asking y'all, even if it evolves, isn't there a vocalizing that creates the sound of blues, whether it's this instrument or one of the multiple instruments y'all play? Do you understand my question?
Yeah, in that context, yeah, I do agree with that statement. I do feel like there's a distinct sound that comes with that, whether it's through the voice, like through guitar, through piano, through drums, whatever, there's a distinct sound for sure that classifies it.
So if we veer from that, then is it still the blues? And if it is the blues, is it because the blues people says it?
I don't think it's veered from. I don't think anybody veers from it. Like, I think probably I'm probably the one that'll mix a lot of stuff in there. Mm-hmm. But all I know as a guitar player that I'm playing the 12-bar blues under whatever it is that you're hearing. So if you don't think it's blues enough, then you're just not listening. Right. And then there are songs that are more traditional, but it's there in everything. It never really loses that 1-4-5. I don't know what that turnaround in there. It's there, and if it's there, it's the blues, and it's kind of like when you're listening to gospel, right? When you listen, ain't nobody did nothing. Organ played, and everybody's like, "Oh, I feel it," and now it's that, and it's the same with the blues. There is a certain tone and turnaround that you hear, and that's what you're listening to immediately. And I think that it's even with the evolution of the blues, it being, some people doing blues rock, which I do. It's still the 12-bar. Chuck Berry is blues. That's a 12-bar blues sped up. It's a different speed, but Johnny Be Good is the blues. And so that's what I mean. Like it carries through no matter what level of traditional to, something a little different, it's still there. And that's how you recognize it.
And you can honor, just to piggyback off of that, you can honor the nuances of the roots of blues while evolving it or acknowledging other genres present. And I experienced this when I was producing my last album, because I was working with people who weren't blues people, and I give them a progression that is not a 1-4-5. We're moving in a different way. But I was like, so when I heard my guitarist put a solo over it and there's no presence of the blues scale, so I started vocally telling him, I want, and he's like, okay. So it got to the point where I was like vocalizing the exact lines to play, because they're like, oh, well, this isn't really a blues song. And I'm like, yeah, I'm evolving it. I'm a blues fusion artist, but let's put the presence of the blues scale in it, and it's going to be felt. We're going to feel it in the rhythm, and we're going to feel it in these guitar lines, and then we're going to have the presence of both genres, and that's how we honor it. So we scrapped it and created a totally different environment, and then when they came back and we listened to it, it's a completely different song. So before, when they recorded it and they're like, oh, we'll record it without Carly, it'll be okay, I was like, no. And then when I listened to it, I was like, this sounds like a rock song or like a pop song. And then once I came in and guided them and led them in that way, it was a completely different environment, completely different song. And you felt the soul and you felt the blues in it because of those things. So you can evolve and honor the roots in some way,
Yeah.
Hey guys, I want to jump
sorry.
Oh no, you're good. Go ahead.
No, wait a minute. Let Joy go.
Yeah, this is your first time talking.
Please,
Please, go ahead. This is your moment.
Sorry, but I really like that we're talking about, honoring the blues, because obviously, I'm very young, and obviously I wasn't around during that time, but I haven't been singing blues very long. If you didn't know, I'm 16, right? I'm almost 17, and I only started singing blues when I was turning 13. And someone sent me an Etta James song to sing, and I sang it somewhere, and that was the first time I really connected with people. And I've been singing in general since I was 6, and my lifelong dream with not just singing, but like connecting with people. I hope someone looks at me and, feels like they can do it. But if we're talking about honoring blues, obviously, I already said this already, but I'm very young. But I think it's really important to, when other people say, keeping the blues alive, when in the beginning of when I started singing, there's going to be people trying to control what I do because, and I wasn't really taken seriously because I was so young. And even now there's people trying to tell me, what to do and how to do this and how to keep the blues alive. I know how to keep the blues alive. And that's how, I look up to all these people, and that's the most important part, I think, in the blues is, I'm gonna do for my first album, there's 1-4-5s on there, but there's also different progressions and stuff. And the way I want to keep the blues alive is not catering it towards what other people want, Now that's kind of what happened, in the beginning of when I started writing. It's how, I have to do this because, other people in the past did that. But I want to do it because I want to, you know what I mean? I'm not really good at phrasing things.
But that's the blues. You just described being a blues woman.
Yeah, I'm not good.
So you good.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't talking before. I was just really, invested in what you guys were talking about because you guys are so right, obviously. And I look up to pretty much all of you on this call. I'm going to be honest. I'm a huge fan of all of you. So,
and
yeah.
Masa, I just want to say I've seen you at all every year in January, and I see you sing, and you're just maturing and growing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Musician, and it's only going to get better and better. So
yeah.
Thank
She's
you.
playing that
Thank
guitar.
you.
It's only the beginning.
Your artistry
Thank
is
you. I
important.
appreciate that.
Your
Sorry, I wasn't
individual
talking
artist.
before. I was just really like I was just really invested in what you guys were saying because at the same time, you know, I'm still learning all of this, so I'm just trying to get everything. And you know what I was talking about earlier? It's also Anika, especially Anika, I look up to very much. So thank you. But yeah, I hope I explained that well. If I
You
didn't,
did. You really
You did.
did.
okay.
Yeah, you did good.
You did just
Thank
fine.
you guys. Thank you guys for making
Yeah.
me feel comfortable.
There's no
Atiba,
wrong way
what
to
did you
say
want
what
to
you
say?
feel. Well, a lot of what I've been hearing kind of leans into like why we even have this discussion and the type of work, you know, that I've kind of created. You know, I inherited a blues institution in which I'm the first African American leader of the institution, and I got really tired of the black and white of the conversation. Like really, really tired of everybody saying, "Oh, you're trying to say white people shouldn't play blues, this, that." I was like, "No, that's not it." I was like, the disconnect comes between there being a product called blues and there being a culture called blues. And what I've heard a lot of this discussion gearing towards is the actual culture of blues. You know, that's what you're feeling, Miss Joy. You know, it's you feel the blues because it's cultural, it's diasporic for all of us, right? So
Yeah.
we know it when we hear it, and we know, and we have, and because we it's part of our culture, we have license to create it because it is authentic to us and our experience. Um, Whether that experience is directly connected to great and well-known blues artists, or whether music is an auxiliary or ancillary part of our life, and it's still just we know that we like it when we hear this type of song or this certain song or this feeling, right? So
Right.
the line that I've been drawing in the sand for a lot of people, and why I wanted to start having this discussion, and we changed up my institution in Greensboro, Piedmont Blues Preservation Society, from a presenting institution to a full cultural institution, is so that we can help people understand that transition. And I found that it's made it a lot more digestible for our allies and for us as community members that might not even know as much as we want. It takes kind of that pretense and that shock out of it. It's like every time I was growing up and heard history about blues, there was always one of the men's slavery, mention the word slavery, right? Like that's not the perspective that I think should be the introduction of blues. I think it should be the culture of a person, of a people first, and all of their history. And that's just such a small piece of the diasporic history that creates blues. Even though, say, we give blues 100, 120 years, right, of life in America as a genre, right? We know that blues began before that. You know, I was at Biscuits and Banjos last week and got to see some of our other friends. Tafara and some other folks were down there, and we ended up having. I need your help. Yes. Yeah. Excuse me 1 minute, guys. I'll be back.
You're always doing 5 things, dude.
Too many things.
Well,
But I
He
think that was
working.
that
He working
was
hard.
that was a very good segue to something.
Yeah.
So I used to do something in New York at New Amsterdam Musical Association, which is the very first music union for Black artists in America, right? Jelly Roll Martin was there, Cecil, Reese, all of these folk. Not when I went there, obviously, let's be clear. But what ends up happening is I reintroduced blues there, and Piedmont Blues acoustic duo performs, and Jontavious Willis comes to perform. And the ways they introduced Piedmont Blues, do y'all know who Piedmont Blues acoustic duo is, right?
No.
I know you do, coming from Washington. I consider Miss Valerie Turner our generation's Etta Baker. The way she pick and pluck. But anyway, and Mr. Ben plays the washboard and harmonica, and he makes washboards as well. But I bring them up because of how they were introduced to an audience of Black people by a Black person. They were introduced as a band, as a duo who plays music from Roots, the movie Roots, the TV show series Roots.
What the? Oh, I'm sorry. Is my mic on?
Is
Okay.
it
I don't know.
I bring this up because a brother Tiba brought something up that is a big misnomer, and not even from them other people, our own people.
Yeah.
Could we talk about that? And is there any
Well, that's also unfortunately another thing by design. Like this stuff would have to be, I don't know, taught in school, and so it's not. And so therefore, and then the other piece was these stories were transferred from generation to generation, but the Black family is not what it used to be. And so these stories that would come from your great grandmother to your grandmother to your mother and so on and so forth doesn't happen as much. So for me, like even when I do shows because I do the blues, but I also do rock. I have a younger audience that comes to my rock shows. But I always do the blues even at my rock shows. And so what that does is opens up the conversation to, oh, what was that song you played? And I was like, oh, was you up there playing Mary Had a Little Lamb? I said, yes, technically. But it just opens the door to that conversation that is not being had in school, in any kind of educational environment, and it's not happening through the legacy of our families like it used to be. And so that's where the disconnect happens, where our community as a whole doesn't know much about the legacy of the blues.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are also not seeing us. Like I've had family members say they feel so far removed from it because when there's blues festivals or when there's events happening and it's labeled as blues, they don't see us doing it and they feel like, well, we just made a pivot. We pivoted to R&B, or we pivoted here, or we pivoted there. And to the point where people who aren't artists like us don't see it as it belonging to them, not anymore.
Yeah.
And I actually am in schools. I just got back from a very exhausting day teaching about the origin of blues in Montgomery County schools.
All right.
And these kids were snoozing and laughing, and I was like, these moms. But I had some people's ear, even if it's just two kids. There were two kids who were
makes
listening.
A difference.
And I know it made a difference. I was like, come up here, let me teach you how to play the blues scale. And let me also tell you that, like, if you feel ashamed of this, or this is old people country music, this is your heritage. It's your inherent right to honor and appreciate this. If you so want to. I'm not trying to push it on them, but I'm like, if you think, because some of it was like, well, they felt like silly. It was almost like they thought their other classmates were going to make fun of them if they played blues. But I saw the kids who wanted to learn, and it was emotionally draining. But I'm doing the work.
We
appreciate
you. Yes,
we appreciate you.
You have to do work because I get to work with a lot of folk life organizations, and every other community and culture has representation playing their traditional music.
Yes.
Right. And it's like, so we need that. So I'm so happy.
Well, that kind of leads to that technicality now, y'all. If we're going to talk about the technicality, in any blues festival, even if it's mostly not you at all, it's going to be at least 1 or 2 slots for you that all of us will have to
fight for,
be up
essentially.
For. And that's why we never really see each other. Like I was talking to some rock bands just separately. They see each other all the time throughout the summer festival season because they're all on the same festivals. And I was just thinking, like, man, when was the last time I saw Anika on a gig? Like, that's crazy. It's been like 2 years at minimum.
For sure.
Right.
And it was a gig that we did together.
And that was a gig that we did together. And even Carly, I saw you maybe 3 years ago in Vegas. We did it, but it's like that far removed. Like we do not see each other because there's only gonna be 1, maybe 2 slots, and whoever gets that, then y'all see each other and you take pictures and you send it to our group chat. But still, that's
yeah,
like
that's funny. But I mean,
that's an issue too. I'm just saying.
That's a big issue because the Rolling Stones is still performing Muddy Waters music, and how many black artists at that age besides Buddy Guy can do that? Every white band, every white band from the 50s and 60s are still touring if they're alive.
Yeah.
The blues is the blues and jazz actually, and rhythm and blues are probably some of the only genres in black music that allow someone 50 plus to continue to perform. So I guess I have to put it back. I wanted to ask another question, but since you said that, Sister Melody, what if we have a genre? I mean, Leo Bud Welch was playing blues all his life and put his first album out at 80 something. Why can't we have that with all black genres? Why is there a cutoff point age-wise in black music?
Black genres.
Would you really want to see an 80-year-old rapper, Lamont?
Yeah, right.
So I mean, you know, I'm gonna tell you, yo, bro, so you now, you know my peoples. Do you know my background when it comes to that?
Tell me what's up.
See now?
No, because the reason I'm asking you that because before I even picked up a guitar, that's what I did. I was a rapper. There are some brothers and females that are in my age group that is still getting it in. Now, to answer your question, the ones I just mentioned, I would love to see them. But there are quite a few I would not. Because I don't want to see an 80-year-old looking like he just came out of the holding cell. But that goes to a bigger problem. What were you going to say, young brother? I'm sorry.
Well, see, my thing is this. I think because of the age and just because of how old this music that we're talking about is, the reason why we're able to accept someone who is 80 or, you know, someone who is 50 plus and to see them perform it is because they had a connection to those people who made such a landmark in this music. You see what I'm saying? The reason we can look at a 90-year-old Buddy Guy on stage is because he played with the young Muddy Waters, and he was he was backing up Muddy Waters. There's a whole record of him a whole few records of him backing up Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf and Sonny Boy Williamson and stuff like that. So that's the reason why. Or you know, you look at somebody like Kenny Burrell in the jazz world. He played with Jimmy Smith. You know, or George Benson. He played with Captain Jack McDuff. You see what I'm saying? So because there are times where those who are physically able to do so, we allow them to do that. But there gets to be a point where it's like, okay, all right, you know.
Time to go on.
Hold on. So you're saying
if they can hold their end, then it's fine.
Right.
So my question is, if someone who was not playing with one of those cats, or you know what, someone who wasn't playing with Billy Branch, right? Someone who was not playing with what's his name, Big Lou, right? But they would, you know, whatever it is, they come into the music new, and they're anywhere between 45 and 65. They wouldn't. We talk about just blues or jazz, but blues particularly. They wouldn't get the love because they weren't playing with these other.
They do get the love.
No, they do.
No, they do get the love.
They do.
They always get the love because you have to think about it. Kind of funny that Katie Wright says we need to get younger audiences, and then Jerry says age and experience are badges of honor in the blues industry. Because those are basically the two focal points that we're talking about. Yes, we do need younger audiences, but a lot of these younger audiences consider this music to be, you know, for old folks. Which is crazy work. You got to understand that, and especially in the black community, and I can only speak for myself and for black folks. I can't speak for every black person, but I know what I've seen as a black artist, where You have people who, you know, oh, well, we don't want to listen to that old, the old
Old
ass
folk
music. That's
music.
how they say it.
Old
Yeah.
folk
We
music.
don't want to
Yeah.
listen to
Yeah.
that. That's my grandma music. That's
Hmm.
my granddaddy music. You know what I'm saying? But what we have to get people to see is that it is as much as it is your grandparents' music, it's your music too, because it's the music of your people. That's why we're able to have such young people doing this stuff. That's why I'm proud to see somebody like Miss Joy here, um, and somebody like a young Real Davenport to be
Yeah.
playing it. That's why it was something for when I came out for the first time, when folks started seeing me on the internet, and I was playing Robert Johnson. I'm playing Dust My Broom.
Mhm.
Elmore James's take on it. They hadn't seen anybody that was 15 years old that was playing that.
Okay.
And that's
You
how
was in
old
the
I
record
was.
store, right? Like, no, you was like in Garage Center, Guitar Center or something when you did
I
that,
was
right?
I was at a local music store in my hometown called 440 Instruments. And I had been playing for almost 8 years. Well, no, I've been playing for 8 years at that point. I've been playing guitar and blues guitar for about 8 years at that point. So we're here, and but it's such a contradictory thing. Like you said, it's a double-edged sword. Yes, we need younger audiences to be here and to see us doing what it is that we do, because we're carrying on the legacy of not just our ancestors but their ancestors, because our ancestors was the ones that was playing it. Their ancestors were the ones that was dancing and listening to it on Saturday nights at the fish fries and at the juke joints and at the nightclubs and at the ballrooms, because they were, blues was everywhere at that point. But now
Hmm.
we're at a point where, because music has evolved and because the people have evolved, we've gotten so far removed from it that people don't even they don't realize their own music when they hear it. And that's a terrible thing, because that means, like Michael Irvin say, we losing recipes. You see what I'm
That's
saying?
it.
We
Yeah.
get into a point.
That's
We
it.
get into a point where um you're not connecting to what it is that you need to connect to. You should always have a connection to your ancestors, because, like I said earlier, you have to know where you're going. You have to know where you're coming from to know where you're going to. So until we get a good understanding of what music was in the past, how can we connect to that? How can we relate to this music that was going on? Because a lot of it, like when you asked earlier, is the blues political? Yes, it is a political music. Um, and no, Vicky, it's not necessarily that they're losing their culture. It's not that at all. It's just the fact that there's a certain aspect of it that they're not as in touch with as they are with other
Hmm.
aspects. You see
Hmm.
what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
it's all a part of the culture.
Yeah.
The evolutionary part of it is all a part of the culture. That's an African thing, regardless of what it is. But there are just some parts of it where it's like, okay, if you get in touch with this, you can further understand why things are the way that they are now, why music is the way that they
Hmm.
are now, why the artists perform the way that they perform. Because I always say, if you go back and listen to the older artists, you understand why a lot of the younger artists today sing the way that they do. You
Yeah.
can't get, there's a certain pipeline to be
Yeah.
studied, how we get from these wonderful church singers to these great
Hmm.
R&B singers and these soul
One
singers and
one
stuff
thousand
like that.
percent. Yes.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So they're all little pieces of it where it's like, we have to study this. We have to get in touch with that. We have to know what this is about in order to come up with something new. So yes, we're always evolving, but we need to get an understanding of what used to be.
Let me ask
Hmm.
you a question,
Yeah.
based. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. No, but so kind of piggybacking off of that. So what I forgot to mention is, when I started singing blues music, I was put into a so when they heard me sing that song, I was put into, a bunch of band members who were under 20, I guess. They were like young all-star blues band. And I feel like when you're that young and you get the response, I sang that song and I got a good response, like, this was, made for you. The like young person response is like, oh, let me learn more songs like that. My response was, let me go research how to incorporate this and make it
To
my own.
yourself.
So exactly. And I feel like more people need to do that, because you play this song on guitar and you get a good response from it. Most people are like, oh, let me learn another person's song. No, let me see all the history behind it. That was my response. And the other people in the band, that was their response. So I feel like that's what I try to not, you know, I just want to know. I can't talk. English is hard. But I'm trying to. It's basically, keeping the blues alive. In my opinion, is, you know, knowing where it came from, where my gift, came from, and I try to incorporate that into a way, young people, like someone could see me, 16 years old, hasn't even got her driver's license yet, and she's, singing all these songs that are, so historical. I feel like I want someone to see that and be like, oh, the history is so important. That's what is so important to me. So, yeah, I hope that made sense.
No, I love it. I love that. That leads to another question. There was a
Cool.
there was I want to say it was Jimmy Duck Holmes or Bobby Rush. I don't remember which one said it to me, but it might not have been either one of them. It could have been somebody else. But it was an older blues dude. And what he said was what started bothering him when he realized young black guitarists was emulating white guitarists who's emulating black guitarists.
Uh-oh.
Can we talk about
Lamont, you're trying to get us caught up in some stuff, but yeah. The thing is, like I was saying before, when I said I tell people all the time, like, I grew up with YouTube. Like, that was it. And that's how I was able to find everybody that I ended up loving, and for the most part. But I also grew up in a very musical family. Like, if you can't sing or play an instrument, you're strange in our family. We're like, man, what happened with you? You saying you don't do nothing musical? It's weird. It's a weird thing. And so because of that, I saw with my eyes and heard in like the living rooms and the basement how things were supposed to sound. So even when I made my way to YouTube and was looking up, guitar players and diving down into that rabbit hole, I was always convinced of who I was going to follow by my ears. So when I heard Jimi Hendrix for the first time, I was like, yes, that sounds familiar. When I heard Prince, that sounded familiar. When I heard Junior Wells, it sounded familiar. You know what I mean? Like it was already within my family history. I already grew up hearing these sounds live. And so when I never fell into that trap of, like, I'll just say, like, some people will hear John Mayer and they'll listen to Gravity and be like, yes, I learned this blues song. And I'm like, sir, ma'am. No, wait a minute. Let's just take a step back because just hold on a second. Let me show you what the blues is, and then and it's not to say it doesn't have blues-esque things going on in the song, but if that's your basis of what you think the blues is, then that's gonna eventually become a huge problem in your playing, right? Because now I have to take you all the way back to the actual blues players. So yeah, it can get very because of the internet, and depending on your algorithm, you can think something that is completely untrue.
Can I piggyback off of her real quick?
Yeah.
I want to piggyback off of what she was saying. Just
go for it.
So, as someone who is also a part of the YouTube generation and learn how to play, it's a great generation.
It's a beautiful thing. Generation. It's total concerts, y'all, on there.
That's how I learned how to play. That's how I taught myself how to play.
Yeah, me too.
Because of being connected to the internet, you know what I'm saying, and having all this access all at once, where it's it's not back in the day where you had to get the newest record and you're learning what's on the record, and you got to slow down the record and play it and figure, you messing up needles and messing up tapes and this, that, and the other. Because I've heard plenty of stories of how folks have had to do that just to learn how to play the music. And so I was lucky enough to have grown up in a generation where people are posting all of these wonderful chats with all these different people, all these videos with all these different people, where you could see a T-Bone Walker, or you could see an Albert King, or you could see a BB King, you could see a Magic Sam, you can see all these different people do what it is that they do. You know what I'm saying? So Um, but like you said, there's sometimes where you have to get it from the source. The way I got it was because, like I said, aside from having it in my family, my father was playing jazz music for me when I was in the womb. So by the time I was born, I was a jazz lover. And then growing up where I grew up, we had to go to church on Sunday mornings. Wasn't no bones about it. So every Sunday morning, I'm going to Macedonia Baptist Church down in Augusta, Georgia. So I'm hearing what the choir singing, and I'm hearing these wonderful musicians who are quartet musicians. So they're out there in the business, and they're doing, they're bringing, they're listening to the records, but they're also bringing all these different sounds to what it is that they're playing in the church. So then, once I turned 3 years old, I heard Ray Charles for the first time. Everything made sense as far as Ray Charles was concerned, because I was like, this is the jazz that I've been loving since before I was born, and this is the gospel that I love now.
Yeah.
So when I heard Ray Charles for the first time, I was hooked. So everything was built on that standard. How good do you compare it to Ray Charles?
Exactly.
How good do you compare it to my hometown dude, James Brown? You see what I'm saying? Like, once you're coming from that kind of a source, and then when you go back and you understand where they were getting it from, because those cats were listening to gospel music, those cats were listening to the blues of the day. They were listening to cats like Lil Willie John and Hank Ballard and Ira Tucker and James Walker from the Dixie Hummingbirds, Reverend Claude Jeter. This is the source. And of course they got it from somewhere. But once you get a good understanding of, like I said, and I've been saying this whole time, once you get a good understanding of where it is that you're coming from, you have a good sense of where you can and where you want to go to. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah.
You need to tell that to homeboy, but we'll talk about that later.
Melody, the John
right
Mayer thing that you were just talking about, that exactly happened to me. Because when I was when I was in my band, I had my band in my hometown, but then, I'd travel to like Memphis and Tennessee and all this. And I would come back from, learning all of this, and they'd be like, oh, I want to, do this like John Mayer. I'm like, no, you want to do this like blues music. I'm like, that's where it comes from. And I love that I knew that.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I'm like, I relate to that so much, because that's exactly what happened to me. But yeah, that's all.
And we could do that across genres, like, the whole feeling good tradition, like the trend that's on TikTok. Like, people do their birthday and they're like, oh, Michael Bublé's feeling good, and I'm like, Nina Simone, yes, that's Nina Simone.
Oh, that gets
correcting it
now. Carly, you're taking me to a place, because woo, does that make me mad when I look up some of these blues songs and somebody else comes up at the top of the search who just covered it, and I gotta go to page 2 to find the person who wrote it and sang it. I don't know if anything gets on my nerves more than that, as far as being online and like the music disrespect. It's wild.
And I constantly correct it. Like, oh, you're so
Anika trying to get back
in. Or like them not knowing where it comes from, and I'm like, they're like, oh, this is their song. I'm like, no, it's not.
No,
it is
not.
Not, bro. I can guarantee it.
This is.
Can I just tap into that really quickly? I'm like a scholar of this music, of just music in general, but blues music, really, really know. And of course, it's our lineage, it's in our bloodline, it is who we are. And so when I see and hear people, doing the covers and all that, let's just take Ball and Chain. Let's just take Ball and Chain. Everyone talks about Janice's version and all that, and it's great. It's great for the hippies and all that. But where did it come from? I'm gonna behave, Melody. I know you're there.
Hey, you ain't got to do nothing.
Where did it come from? And most all of the songs that have been made popular from a blues song, they've come from a black or blue. I mean, they come from a black blues woman or man.
Yeah.
Period. So when we talk about, Melody talked earlier about equality in this industry. And see, I have some hardware up there, and what I found in all of my years of doing this, leaving the military, leaving a good first and the 15th check, serving my country in this war and all that, but I knew I wanted to be a blues singer. I knew that. And I found that all those girls I came up with that were not brown, all of them have made it to be very successful in addition to the awards. So being Black, almost what, mid-senior, what are we, Carly, mid-senior? Turning 40, and it's
50s
like,
and mid 30s.
where, when will we get the machines put behind us? Not just the awards, the whole thing, the contracts, the record contracts, or just somebody that got money that say, you know what, instead of just mentoring you, I'm going to sponsor you, whatever it takes. I'm going to sponsor you. And then you're able to join in where those gatekeepers are because you got money. The gatekeepers got money. That's why we can't get in, because we don't have the money like they do. I can go in there and talk to them, this and that. But when I go, if I want to go in and have the purse, I want my purse to match their purse and say, hey, I want some Black women on this festival. What we got to do? Because, like you say, I should be seeing y'all every year. I shouldn't just be seeing y'all every few years because they put us in those little 2 slots. And I always ask when we play, I mean, we do a lot of like community shows as well, like with Levitt Amp and stuff. And I asked them, I said, well, what's the crowd going to be like? And I said, oh, well, what do you mean? It'll be young, or, oh, I said, no, is it going to be diverse? I care about it being diverse. Did you market to those Black and brown communities, or the socioeconomic? Did you not? I don't want you to just market to the rich people. I want you to market to everybody, especially if it's a free festival. Like, why don't you want everybody there?
And Nikki, you made it.
See young girls that look like me, so I can go tell them, hey, you can do this too.
Yeah, you're making a point though, for real, because a lot of people can't afford that stuff. I don't necessarily have to tell a young
white girl that they can do it because they already know that they can.
Atiba, you see Mac trying to get back in?
The tradition of that started when we talked about a little bit about the British explosion and things like that.
Okay, I digress for a minute. I've had too much coffee.
We moved the goalpost for what blues is.
You're muted, Carly.
I'm muted.
Oh, I can hear her.
No, you're not.
No, we can hear. Yeah.
She's not muted.
Can y'all hear?
Yes.
What we call blues, the goalpost is moved a little bit, right? So when we talk about Motown, my mom and I were just listening to early Motown where you just hear the 145. They just got horns. They jumped it up a little bit. So when Black artists are evolving within it, like, like all that, like even Michael Jackson, baby, 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 that's blues. It was like funk blues.
Yes.
And then I'm going to the city.
James Brown.
Yeah.
I mean, Tito played the blues.
Right? So then you have the British explosion, and they've got these festivals, not, as Anika said, not marketing to us. And do you feel safe in that space? And I've heard people say, well, the Civil Rights Act just passed. They should feel safe. No, people didn't feel safe. So 1, you weren't feeling safe. 2, you weren't hiring us. So it wasn't being done right. So do we want to come to your festival? And you priced us out because we can't talk about this without acknowledging the socioeconomic disparity that exists. So if you price people out and then say, oh, you abandoned the blues for rap. Again, there's the pivot. That's why people feel like it doesn't belong to them anymore. We just pivot. We went here. But other non-blues people can evolve the genre into something maybe we don't recognize as blues, or we might say, oh, I don't like the way that sounds. Right? Or all the things we talked about. But when we're evolving it, and I'm having that issue because I'm a blues fusion artist, I honor the nuances and the roots of blues while pushing it forward. And so I'm a product to be marketed. And how do we fit this product onto our festival? This doesn't match because I'm evolving and they're like
But it's not supposed to match, right? We know that as
Yeah.
music, like we could all be on the same bill and it would be a fantastic show.
Great.
Because that's how they do their
Yeah.
festivals. Let's just be
And
all
also-
the way
oh, sorry.
100.
And
'Cause
what
I
Anika
play
was
both,
saying,
right?
like,
It's
I-
always different
as, you
kind
know,
of music.
I keep bringing up
It's-
how young I am because
yeah.
I'm very young, but you
Yeah,
know,
I'm being
I
told that
wanna
me and
go-
Anika
I
are the
wanna-
same.
you know,
We're going to bring the same
I,
demographic,
as,
so
you know-
me and Anika can't be on the same festival.
like
Yikes.
why?
But we're
I
two different shows.
Didn't you play our festival last year? And it would be some other.
They got you
Ladies.
confused with the other black
Ladies,
girl.
ladies,
And I
ladies,
tell 'em,
ladies,
Oof.
yeah.
ladies.
Yep.
I, as not only a man, a married man, I never want to interrupt. I will say, Miss Joy was trying to say something.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I couldn't like hear anything. I think I can't hear anything.
Tiba needs to.
I think you were
unmute.
just
We can
given
hear
the.
you.
I think you were just given
Oh, now
the
you're
microphone.
good.
You were trying to
Okay,
say something.
I couldn't
and
hear
you got-
anything for a second.
I
Okay,
think
so
everybody
you were
stopped
trying to
to
let
make
us
a
know
listen
you
to
couldn't
you.
hear?
You know, as you were saying, Anika, you know, you're not gonna tell, you know, I'm not gonna tell a young, you know, white girl, like, you know, all this stuff to do. I'm like, I want to, as, you know, a teenager, you know, you guys have probably seen me. I'm probably, you know, taking pictures with everyone and like getting up on stage with everyone. I want to do that. And I want to learn from people who look like me and who people, you know what I mean? And also the most important thing, I want to be that for someone else. That's all, honestly, all I wanted. But yeah, kind of picking back on what you were saying.
Well, I'll say good job because you already are, first of all. So accept where you already are. Not that you're not. I know how confident you are, and it's amazing to see. But you already are an example. Even just being on this call is part of the reason why, like, we wanted you to be able to join us today. I'm so glad you're able to. But like, the blues has some problems with age. Blues has some problems with diversity and the definition of diversity. And I think I started to speak on this earlier, but it's really the disconnect between people understanding a culture or believing that by buying a product, they're truly engaging with culture. You know what I mean? And like, buying a pair of J's does not make you from the hood. You know what I mean?
You gotta get them stolen first.
Just like buying blues lessons or Gibson guitars doesn't make you blues. Like, it just doesn't work that way. And buying tickets and t-shirts won't do it for you either. You know, there's different ways you can experience it. So I've been trying to connect this conversation between like folk and cultural communities. And I know Lamont does a lot of that work. But also those communities being connected to their work. Like, I always use hip hop as like a prime, well-known example of, you take the B-boys, you put them over here and tell them they're not professional dancers. You take the graffiti, you put it over here, you politicize it and call it only vandalism and crime. And then you get your hands on the lyrical art of rap and you highlight as an industry only the negative sentiments for sensationalism. You know what I mean? And now you have how to destroy culture. Well, most people don't even know that hip hop was built as an anti-violence campaign.
Yeah.
You know what I
That's
mean?
why it was
But
so
nobody would
positive.
believe that, right?
Yeah, no, I know.
That's why it was so positive. If
Yeah.
you listen to 80s hip hop,
Yep.
it is the happiest music I've really
Yep.
ever heard.
Hip hop
Yeah,
to hip
well, it was,
I mean,
it was
it's
party
a good
music.
time.
Even more than that.
It feels
Yeah.
good.
It
You
was
know?
party
Now, what
music.
you
Full of
hear is
positive.
not a test on rapping too.
Yeah.
Bro,
It's
but
like-
yo, you want to hear the funny
Where's
thing?
the
it's so
barbecue?
happy.
They
But you know what, though?
they
I
were
ain't even
singing
gonna lie,
happy
even
while their
this
buildings were
week, like, I
burning.
remember
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's it. And at the
Yeah,
same time, I always say that blues and hip hop are the exact same thing. Like,
Yeah,
when you break them
Yeah.
down, in many ways they are. A
Yeah.
set bar form, there's a set reliance on rhythm, use
Storytellers.
of coded language and
Storytelling.
storytelling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're
Think
literally
about
the same
all the
genre.
rap songs that everybody else gets wrong. But
yeah.
we know exactly what they were
Was
talking.
being-
And you'll see it like I see it on TikTok all the time.
It
You're like,
definitely-
yeah,
yeah.
see, this song is about this, and I love how they talk about that. And I'm just sitting there like, that's not what this song is
At all.
about
That's not what
at
it's
all.
about, right?
At all.
And
Or it's
they're
like
reviewing
watching-
it.
No,
Any of
I
y'all
actually
go
did
Get Out the theater.
I did a lecture on that. I have it on YouTube, and the ironic thing is, you have Son House, you have Booker White, Booker, you have Mississippi John Hurt, you got Blind Lemon Jefferson, all talk about Parchment Farm, but then you got Cool G Rap, you got Rakim, you got KRS-One, and they all talk about Rikers Island. There's a bridge. I call it hip hop is the great grandchild of the blues, and I do that because my 4-time great grandparents, the blues was their music. From it meaning when it became a popular music, they were appreciating it when it was in that space, and they were like us, their siblings, their younger siblings. My Uncle Lewis was a bluesman from Louisiana in Belrose, Louisiana, which is pretty much a plantation, you know. And so when you think about those things, and you think about what's being said, and you think about the migration, and you think about Muddy Waters doing Mississippi blues in Chicago, right? Then you have who somebody just said, the hip hop hippie. You got them doing urban blues on the concrete. Then you have somebody just said, the hip hop hippie. You got them doing. That's horrible. Wait, am I the only one hearing that feedback?
No, that was a delay. It was a delay. I think you good.
Okay. I wanted somebody. No, I think it was Little Miss Joy. Anika, all of y'all spoke about this, but I have to bring up coon shouting. Y'all know what coon shouting is, right?
Yeah.
Mac, I know you know what coon shouting is.
I don't know
what you
mean. I mean, I can put two and two together.
Do you know who coon shouters are? Coon shouters. Do you know who coon shouters are?
No,
Okay.
I'm.
The reason why I ask, because it's very important to this conversation. Coon shouters are the white women who did black women songs in vaudeville.
See, I didn't know that.
Okay.
And they actually became more popular than the black women.
Well, blackface was more popular than black people.
You get where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Right? So one of the biggest songs is from Adele, who I consider a coon shouter. And it was We Could Have Had It All. So she's singing like a black woman. And if you listen to the music composition, it's Texas 12-bar blues. So my question to y'all, with bringing all this up, men and women, and you all said this multiple times, and then I'm gonna pass it to Steve because he was going somewhere with this. How, outside of going to see, where's Mac? Because I want Mac in on this too. Outside of the fact that you go to these festivals and see bad renditions of yourselves, I can say myself too, because I'm, y'all are way better than me, but I'm on a small stage somewhere around the corner. It's okay. I'll take that. I'll take that. But what I will say is, how does it feel to see or hear someone actually doing a good rendition of what you do and getting paid for it? Do you understand the question?
Oh, it feels fine to me. I mean, if you're able to do the music justice and know where the music is coming from and be able to pinpoint certain things about the culture and about the music, that shows that you at least respect it enough to say, this is just my rendition. This isn't my culture. This isn't, this is just what I dig about this and blah 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 blah. If you're able to accept the fact that this is the kind of music that comes out of hardships and difficulties, and not saying that it's just based on that, but that's at the core of it, then you're okay with me. But when you have some people who either don't know that or will literally, just completely disregard it, they know it, they're just completely disregarding of it, then that's the problem. That's a big problem. But I will say, like, even as guitar players, being someone who is is an admirer of certain, non-black or brown blues musicians, blues guitar players, who think that some of them are, they're some of the greatest. Like somebody like Junior Watson. I know where he's coming from, and I know who he pays respect to because he always tells you where he gets it from. He says he listened to Bill Jennings and Tiny Grimes and T-Bone Walker and Charlie Christian and Johnny Moore, all these wonderful black guitar players that honestly don't get the respect they deserve from black guitar players, or they're not known by these black guitar players. But that I'll have respect for. But if you're just completely disregarding of the fact that there is some kind of um, what's the word I'm looking for? There were obstacles in place when this music was created. There was trouble and there was strife when this music was created. And you're not accepting of the fact that this is the kind of stuff that went down to make this music be what it is now, then I gotta wash my hands of you. I can't respect you as a blues musician or somebody that claims to love the blues if you can't respect that. And that's my problem with a lot of people on certain social media sites because you have these folks, Atiba, you know exactly what I'm talking about too. You have certain
Should I start
people.
hitting with my anecdotes, Mac? Should I hit it with the anecdotes?
No. That's gonna be a longer call than what we want it to be. We can talk about that next week. But my thing is this: you have folks who claim they love this music, and yes, I have certain people in mind. You have folks that claim to love the music. You have folks that will tell you all about who they worked with and who they played behind, and what shows they went to go see, and who they saw in 19 for wherever, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But will not accept the fact that the people who are the descendants of those same musicians y'all claim to love and respect so much, and that they're going through something in the state of this country and and what it is right now. And that's not good. That's not good at all. Because we're at a point where as black blues musicians, we need you to understand that this music is going to be based off of whatever we're talking about now and for the next whatever's going on now and whatever's what we're talking about now, what we're going to be talking about in the next couple years or whatever is going to be based off of what's going on right now. You know what I'm saying? So there are a lot of things that we could be talking about, and as far as his music is concerned, but you have to have those that are supposedly gatekeepers and things like that to accept the fact that these are the problems that we're facing right now as black and brown people. But if you're not respecting of that, you have to go. We have to get you out of here because you're only going to be detrimental to the evolution of this music, and that's not what we want. We need people that are going to help us push this forward.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm
Don't
right
love
there
the
with you.
blues and
Yeah.
vote to take away
And even as someone,
voting
you
rights.
talk about people who, aren't, black or brown, trying to respect where it came from. Even, someone like me who is, a black, singer, I would hate, going up to someone who, inspires me so much and them not, respecting it. So it's important for everyone, I think. And, also that also comes from me being so young. People don't know, like I know stuff about where it came from. So that's why I don't get taken seriously. So that's really at the forefront of, where I'm going for my career. That is the top of my list, what I want to do. So
I,
Yo,
I
listen to
just want to
me.
mention
I
that
just want to
I
say
just
one
want to.
thing, Melody.
Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, just one thing. Y'all better start, not y'all on this panel, because I know everyone in this panel does. Y'all out there better start taking Miles of Joy serious. All right? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Melody. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Taking all of us serious.
Wait, wait, hold up. Y'all ain't taking these black folks serious?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Oh
Absolutely
no!
not.
No.
Yeah, no,
I
Truth,
no.
still
y'all. Let
get
them know.
told. I still
So
get
what I
told.
was gonna say
Petty.
is that
Sorry,
uh,
Melody.
the problem is that for me, I only can speak for myself and the things that I've witnessed, right? I have had a terrible, horrible experience in this blues music industry specifically. I have never been so thoroughly, consistently disrespected with the things that people say to your face
Mhm.
and then will go out here and pretend to be liberal and so for the people and love black people and love black music and all of the things. but I am a female lead guitar player who sings and writes her own songs. And I have been told to my face that I'm not getting booked here, or here because a white girl can make more money than I can. A white girl can bring in more monetary value. These are quotes. And it's not from one person, it's from several people for years.
Yeah.
And it's the same people that be out here on Facebook and be in the comment section every week talking about how great I am and how they love me and this, that, and the third. But I have had, and then anytime I speak on it to these people or in meetings, on boards or wherever I am, I immediately get invalidated. Oh, no, you took that wrong. Or we didn't mean it that way. And all these excuses come up. And, oh, I've known him for 30 years. I don't care how long you've known this racist. Okay? They don't change the fact that he's a racist. And he said racist things to me. And it doesn't matter how long you've known this other woman who is also a racist and refuses to book me because she doesn't believe that I can bring in any money. So what I'm saying is, even for like my mental health, I play other genres. I navigate in the rock world. It seems crazy, but I get treated better in every other genre but this one. And it is so disheartening and disappointing when you understand the history, which I do. I know everything about my Black history. I know that my Black history didn't start in slavery, right? And so when you know your history and you know what your family, your literal family has done to get us all here today, the rage that we have to push down to get through our lives in this music industry is not like anyone else. I don't want to hear somebody say, oh, I've gone through some things, but the Black experience in America is the Black experience in America. There is absolutely nothing you can do to prepare for it. And there's absolutely nothing you can do to try to pretend like you know what I'm going through, or you know how hard it is to be Black, to be a Black woman, to be a Black man, regardless of anything else. And so what I am done with is the fakeness of it all. I'm tired. Like this is for anybody watching. You don't have to perform for me. Don't smile in my face and then make sure I never play this festival. Don't smile in my face and make sure I'm never on tour with these people. Right? Because that's what's going on here. And it's so blatant. They have one face in the back, backstage, and a whole other face in public. And they're pretending to be down for Black people while they are visitors in our Black music. But they are not. There are I can count on my hand the people that don't look like me that are really down for me. And I would not feel my hand up. And so I'm just done with it. I see not only my own treatment, like I told you before, I have witnessed the disrespect of my elders and how they are treated financially and how I am treated financially. And then you'll sit there and pay somebody else. My counterpart that happens to be white gets paid right now today 3 times what I get paid for a show. Not 2 times, not half, not 3 times what I get paid for a show. And we are the same age. And we came up the same years. We've put in the same amount of time and effort. We have the same amount of albums. We've done the work. I'm not negating her work. I'm not saying she ain't nothing because she been working for 10 years. I'm saying that you always knew there was space for all of us. And you pretended like there was only space for one of us. And so this crab in a barrel thing, this cycle continues, and we're all fighting for the same gigs when we should all be on all of them. and I'm just done with it.
So,
There was
Melody Angel, I just want to say my daughter, Samara Pearley, who plays the piano, guitar, and sings, she said, say it, speak on it, and she's clapping for you. And she has an afro too, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Miss Anika. Go ahead.
Because in Melody, we tend to
What's up, singer?
we call ourselves the kind of the Angela Davis of this music. You know, we really it is disheartening because, like you say, you see the people you come up with, and the only difference, you got the talent. Some of us have more talent. You got your look down. You got your whole thing together, and that person has their thing together, and then you get up, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, what's the difference? And to know that it's the color of our skin in an industry that we know that our ancestors fought to be in, and just it's ours. So, but the question is, well, what do we do? Do we go to the rock world, go where we're loved? Do we, Paul and I talk about that all the time.
I'm going.
We take where we go where the love is. That's my motto. It's been my motto. We go where the love is, because at the same time, like me begging to be on your gig, or you telling me that I've been on the cruise before and I've never been on the cruise. No, I saw you. You were doing this, and I was like, nope, that was the other Black girl. Why don't you know who I am?
That is so true.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's so much worse on the boat than it is off, because you can experience a lot of that same exact stuff. People walk up to you and think that you're somebody, and you're like, oh no, I'm the other Black guy that's right next to me.
And I will tell you straight up to your face, I'm a Black girl. And Melody said something too about the Black experience, and it was funny. I'm in an interracial marriage. I married a Canadian. He just so happened to be white. La la la. Well, I have to say, an American white man, Southern white man, told me, this is to make y'all laugh, that he knew more about the Black experience than me.
Excuse me?
Oh yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that because he's an historian, because he read some books and documentaries.
Yeah.
Say that again.
And you got one friend that you see once a year.
Yeah.
And you telling me about the Black experience when everybody I know.
He wrote a book.
Yeah.
He knows.
He sat at lunch with him in the 6th grade. He
damn sure wrote a book.
The fact that you think that, it's no need to even try to debate you.
But no, you want to hear something funny though? You want to hear something funny that's not funny? All jokes aside, you want to hear something funny that's not funny?
He was serious.
Not only was he serious, that same white man got tenure at some university teaching white kid about Black.
Yeah, and sold 1 million copies of that book.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, this is a problem. This is a
the monetization of Black culture has been the top of economic power for America across the board, inside music and out.
We are cotton. We are American cotton.
We are cotton.
But you can't talk about this. Like, I'm glad y'all here, because when I talk about it just on my own, of course, you navigate the portions of, just an angry Black woman.
Yep.
Y'all, and then they love to say, oh, y'all just playing victim. Y'all love playing victim. Okay.
Yeah, I want you listen, folks, and I'm talking to the audience. Let's go listen to my Prison Planet series, because that's what everyone here is talking about.
That it keeps doing this.
Yep.
Very annoying.
Turn her mic off real quick.
Who is that?
That's Carly.
I think our sound keeps going out.
Yeah, sound is going out. So because what I don't want to give a history lesson here. I'm sorry. So let me calm down, because I get excited. I get really excited because when you think,
worked up.
I get very worked up.
Yeah.
When you think of the land America, we talk about America. When you think of the land, and you think of the abuse of the stewards of the land, and then when you think of how we got ran off our land, how we got lynched, how we got marginalized, how we got ran up in project buildings, how all these things. And then as they come and want to interview and ask questions, they continue to extract our soul after extracting our resources. All of these things play together, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I've had
Right.
it happen so many times where someone comes to pick my brain. I've picked up on it now where I'm like now like, yeah, oh, maybe, but I don't feel like I should give you my resources when you don't even need them. You can go play like what'd you say, cosplay? You can go cosplay up there.
Yeah.
And do your little thing. And somebody's gonna sign you.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I thought too, like maybe there's a way we cosplay like them, but I don't want to do that either because
I mean, I
we
feel like
called that
we.
code switching a
I
while
don't
ago.
want
I was about to say, I feel like we
I
have a
want to
reason
play
to have
better.
to do that.
I caught that, Atiba. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we call code switching. When we do it, it's code switching.
Double
you know what I mean?
consciousness.
Yeah, it's because we
When
need
they-
to
when they
versus
do it,
having
it's
to,
leaning- when
wanting
they do
to.
it's leaning into
Dylan,
culture,
yes.
being culture.
Yeah.
Survival.
Yeah, we're doing it because we need to survive. Most of us are trying to be like, as Black people, I feel like we are we are a threat to the white community because we are able to adapt as Black people. We are able to take something and make it something from nothing. You know what I mean? Not only make it
and we're essentially better. Because
right.
If you ask artists, just randomly talk. If you're on some festival, who are your influences? I never ever hear
Bon Jovi.
Like I never hear.
No.
If I heard that, I would have a problem.
I don't have a problem with people liking what they like. But we're talking about influences musically, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I want Anika to talk to something. I have so many I could pull from interviews with her, but this is something I really want Sister Chambers to talk about, because as we spoke earlier, I said just because we have some blues people don't mean they could play the blues, right? Or sing the blues. And it's okay. If you sing like a Texan, it's okay. If you sing like Johnny Cash, it's okay. Right? But Dylan said it's not easy to do this, and it's not.
No.
It's very it seems to be a simple pattern, a simple vocal phrasing. Now, I'm giving context, so I'm going to go right into it. And we want to sing a B up in this conversation. Sister Miss Chambers, do you remember when you told me that one of the things that you really had a problem with was people didn't honor the fact that you worked on your craft? You didn't just roll out the bed and was able to holler like this.
Yeah, growing up, I mean, most Black families, music was part of our lives. My mom played my grandmother and my grandparents raised me because my mom was a teenage parent. And so growing up, I didn't have a lot of secular music. I listened to a lot of gospel music. So that was my foundation. So the singers in the gospel world, they're beyond. They're not normal. They're up here.
Yeah.
They're the best.
Has always been up here. So then when I hear you, let's just take the national anthem or something. I hear you trying to sing the national anthem. And I'm like, I know when you start, I'm like, uh-oh, it's not going to go well.
Yep. First couple seconds. Yep.
Uh-oh, it's not going to go well. But you can tell that growing up, that they didn't have anyone to say, that's you don't need to sing. Singing not your thing. Black families do that. They
will.
But you know what, Anika? On the real, I think that because I do this as a joke. Everybody that knows me, everybody that's my friend knows that I encourage everybody that's singing, whether you sound good or not. So there are times where there are people who really think they are singing around me, and they ain't hitting on nothing. And I will sure enough be sitting next to somebody. Dylan knows best.
Go
I'll be sitting
ahead.
next to
Go
them, and be like,
ahead.
"Turn the sound, baby."
Oh,
That
you
is
one
all
of
right.
those.
But at the same time, though, and I said this earlier, there needs to be the pipeline from gospel singers to R&B and soul singers needs to be studied. And at the same time, as a black community, we need to we need to get back to reinstating children's choirs and children's
Yes.
Oh
church
yeah.
programs
Oh
and stuff,
yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
have kids singing in the
Such
church,
a better
because you have
time.
so many people who will sit here and the same old folks and the same parents that will complain about music not shining the way it did when they were younger are the same people that are putting iPads in babies' hands by the time they're 2 years
Yeah.
old,
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
when they can be doing so much more. Because I can speak for myself when I say I was a member of the children's choir when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
And I grew and I grew up around people who were musicians, and I was there at these choir rehearsals, and I was singing in these choir rehearsals when I was 5 and 6 years old. So especially when it comes to singing gospel music, there's a sense of yearning and wanting in that music where it's that's what makes soul music. That's what makes R&B music, because of that connection to the church. Because there's always going to be this connection of you're wanting for something. Let him use you as taking me out in the comments. But some, yeah, have mercy.
Let
But
him
no,
use you.
With emotion.
somebody that has that kind of a connection. Like, you think of somebody I'm thinking of just off the rip is Bobby Blue Bland. Bobby
Oh
Blue
yeah.
Bland,
Church
he
runs
grew
all the
up
way down.
going to C.L. Franklin's church when he was in
Oh yeah.
Memphis. Or even more closer to contemporary times, it's somebody like Casey Haley. The guy, the KC he was known as Little Cedric Haley and the Haley Singers. It was a quartet group. So I always advocate for people either getting into a church choir program and singing in somebody's church, or at least studying gospel music, because there's such a big part of why it is that not even just soul and R&B singers, but we as blues singers. I did I don't know if y'all know this, but I have a separate page on on Instagram called Max Record Store, and I feature certain songs and stuff that I feel that aren't getting as recognized as they should be, or just stuff that goes up on the radar. So the post I did today was about the song of the day was "Mary Don't You Weep" by the Caravans, and which features one of my favorite singers of all time, Miss
Let's
Inez
see.
Andrews. So she had this thing where you could hear how smooth it was, and then when it's time to get into the actual sermonette where she's talking about what happened to Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, and how Jesus should have been there when when Lazarus was dead, and had you been here, my brother wouldn't have died, and blah blah blah. And for the benefit of those who don't believe in me, I'm gonna call him through all that stuff. When she finally gets to that, all I could hear was Aretha Franklin, Tina Turner,
Right.
Patti LaBelle, all of the squalor, all the stuff, and even in myself, I know that I hear certain hollers and stuff that I do because I'm a hooter and a hollerer at heart. I will do that all day. But
Me too.
but it's a part of where I come from. I'm from Augusta, Georgia, so we got James Brown, we got the Swanee Quintet, we got all of these kinds of influences that runs deep in our music. And so I feel like we, as not only as black musicians, but black folks in general, we need to get back to this kind of stuff, because that's what's that's what carries us. That's what evolves us. That's where we come from. You see what I'm saying? Like we've been saying this whole time. The blues is the roots of it all. So there's no way in the world that we can do whatever it is that we're doing and not have blues be the roots of it.
That's it. That's it.
It's going to be there regardless.
I got something to add right where you at. So you're talking about making sure that younger generations have access to the art form, right? When I built the Blues Society, or not, I did not build this Blues Society. When I rebuilt our programming and strategy for how we could, solve some problems, which excluded our group unintentionally which included us unintentionally excluding black people for a period. Not intentionally at all, but black people around town were telling me I don't feel welcome, and we haven't felt welcome at your events as part of your group in a long time. But there was a point where it wasn't like that, so I had to figure out how to do it. And I said, well, we got to go multi-generational, and everybody's always saying we need more young people in the blues. A lot of people in the blues don't want to hear or understand that nobody wants to live in a damn time capsule. There's not one generation of whoever who has ever wanted to like really play their daddy's music. It's like a known thing. There's whole movies and major themes and writing through history about people bucking against the traditions of their parents until they get older and can understand it and relate to it more. Like, it is just a human thing. Forget black and white, anything. It's a human thing. And so often, young people, and maybe Miss Joy can speak to this, and I know Sean, you can probably speak to this, have been demonized, criticized for not knowing or celebrating the old. You only have access to what you have access to. So if your family doesn't bleed blues, a lot of people now aren't going to know blues. So when
that's the thing, Atiba. That's the thing. I can only speak for myself in that kind of a respect. But
yeah,
I came up in a family. I'm the one that's listening to the oldest music.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm, as
but you're
who
like,
am I to be?
You gotta understand, like, you're the exception, though.
Yeah.
No, but that's what I'm getting to. But this yeah, there are a lot more exceptions than me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm one of the few people where I was somewhat introduced and encouraged to listen to this music. You see what I'm saying?
People aren't getting that, though, is my point.
No, but no, I was getting to that. I was gonna say that, yeah.
Okay. Well,
no, but I'm just saying, yeah.
Yeah, part of the strategy, I think, has to be meeting people where they are. If you've met me or had conversations with me about blues work, you'll see I'll be at a blues event. They'll be like, who you here to see? I'll be like, I'm here to represent black culture. I ain't here chasing guitar licks. We got charts and records. I can hear all the music I want. I'm a sound engineer 25 years. I'm not here to hear more loud music. I'm here to build this connection between the culture. And part of how you do that is meeting people where they are. I don't care if people like blues. Not everybody's experience involves them sitting in front of somebody playing a loud guitar, just as a generalization.
But as Melody said, racists don't necessarily want that. A lot of our fan base, a lot of them have come from the hippie rock world or top four, what classic rock world. They've come over to be blues and all that. So they naturally, when you hear promoters talk about it, they naturally want to see people that look like them. So even if we're there trying to give them a lesson, and a lesson in just our authenticity, because we're going to do that anyway. So how do we meet them where they are if sometimes they don't even want to talk to us?
Yeah.
That's what I want to talk about. And that's where my work has been, is like figuring that out. One thing is, like I said, I don't talk about the black and white of it. I started using the word culture. You know?
Hey, Melody?
We use the word culture. Now,
Yeah,
I'll tell
that's
you
not my
about
ministry.
culture,
So I'm gonna let Atiba go ahead.
No.
I'm not.
It's not.
I know what you mean, but I'm just not in the. And I mean this when I say this. It's not my ministry. I mean, I have no desire to teach non-black people anything.
No,
I only want to educate my community. That has been my whole thing across the board. I've never deviated from it, because I feel like if you are not black and you're entering into a known black environment, and you have absolutely no desire to understand the history or the impact or your privilege within this genre, then there's absolutely nothing for us to talk about. You stay over there and I'm gonna stay over here.
And that's okay. That's not everybody's
work. And that's
work.
okay. That's why I'm saying it's not my ministry. I don't have anything against doing it if that's what you want to do. But they playing
not everybody
games.
has a stomach for my strategy.
With you because they know what they're doing is wrong. They know what they're doing is racist. They know that they're misusing their privilege. They already know these things. And I'm just not willing to go back and forth with them and hold their hand when they don't really need their hand held, because they know exactly what they're doing. We're talking about adults.
Can I jump into the conversation real quick? Can I jump into the conversation real quick?
Yeah.
Two things. One, I was on the panel and I performed at a blues dance festival, and one of the dance instructor's guitars got stuck in the airport, so I backed her up, and she asked me. We stopped playing and dancing, and she asked me to give the participants a little bit of history of where the stuff come, because they're doing a blues dance, a blues dance, a blues dance. I keep saying that because if those of you that, well, we're all here because our grandmama was doing a blues dance with our granddaddy. So do you understand where I'm coming from? There's dances that our peoples was doing. Okay, so it got to the point. A couple of those white people got very uncomfortable. So the lady who's a white woman raised by a black couple. Jax, why was he uncomfortable? Because he was the boisterous one. It was quite a few of them, and they all was like, "Well, why do we have to learn this? We're just here for socializing, right?" And that burned me. And when I say burned me, it made me pissed off.
It made them uncomfortable.
But yeah, exactly.
To be uncomfortable.
But guess what? I agree with you, right? But I agree with you. I'm talking to Melody. Yeah. I agree with you. And when I say I agree with you, I'm saying you don't want to hear this, but you want to do a fake version of it and call it blues dancing, but you don't want to understand where these things come from. This is the problem.
Yeah.
I moderated. I've never done this in my life before. I've moderated a family reunion. Let me set up the scene. It is the descendants of the slavers and the descendants of the enslaved. And we had a family reunion right where their family was slaved and enslaved. And this white man got up, started crying, and this educated black woman walked herself to the front and said, "I don't want them crocodile tears. I don't even want to be here. This is not my problem, and I don't want you rehashing my trauma. You need to deal with this."
Yes.
That's cringy.
Internally, like
everybody talking about trauma, don't want to talk about triggers.
Where they do the work on their own and don't ask me to labor. Okay, because what you're asking me to do is put forth my labor to teach you how you have wronged me, instead of going away and doing the work yourself, the labor yourself. You think I'm still your slave? I am not.
And I'm definitely not your Negro.
Yeah,
I get it. So the way that I address it, though, is what happened?
Or your mammy.
Or your mammy, right? The way that I've found to address it begins with using culture first. I don't even use the term blues music anymore. I'm not here to celebrate just the music because I can't extract it from the culture. You got to take the food with it. You got to take the politics with it. You got to take the different skin tones with it. Everything is part of the culture. So that's the first thing I did is I put it back together, like we're talking about from my hip hop example. Put it back together, right? And keep it together. So, and I don't care if you like the blues. My mission doesn't say you have to like blues songs. My mission says I need to engage you with blues as culture, right? So if you like to read, I'm going to find a way to make sure you have something to read about blues. If you like to listen to music, I'll make sure that we have playlists on Spotify and our website. If you haven't checked them out, they're really nice. Go check that stuff out. If you like foodways, we're going to go to our local farmers market. We're going to do Gritty Blues. And we're going to partner with a Green Book venue and put facts about Carolina Gold rice and okra and watermelon not being American foods, but African foods, and how Carolina Gold rice propped up the Southern economy as one of the greatest cash crops, right? Like, we're going to talk about it, right? You want me to do a thing about beach music? Great. My board made me one time. And I was like, okay, we're doing beach music? Great. Let's talk about why beach music. Now we got to talk about segregated beaches. Now we're going to pull out Charlie's Place, the Emmy Award winning film from South Carolina Educational Television, which also documents with an Emmy that the shag is a black dance from taught in Myrtle Beach. I know, but that's a big one because the only people you still see, most of the people you still see that dance in the Carolinas. Beach music is huge. Have y'all heard of beach music? Who's heard of beach music as a genre? It's a very Carolina coast thing, right? But it's also a very white thing. And they're out there dancing, and they've all got, I'm not going to pick on the clothes and stuff or whatever, but there's a homogeny to the dress code.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can drive past this event, not hear anything, and know what type of event's happening type thing.
Yeah.
And by the dance, you can tell what it is. But they love this dance.
So it's all based on R&B music. It's all based on rhythm and blues music from the 50s and 60s. And there's a certain kind of a beat that they dance to. Like some of it can be done to a shuffle. Like there are times where you'll hear songs like Pride and Joy by Marvin Gaye. They'll shag to that. You know what I'm saying? Shagging is a state dance in South Carolina. So that's how big it is. You see what I'm saying? You got all these white folks. It is humongous.
The monetization of Black culture continues.
Right, like the stocking cap.
But you got to put people. What I found is that one, I've got to be able to engage in conversation to advance a conversation. So I'm finding creative ways like this to engage in conversation.
Right.
The first time we had this conversation, like you said, Lamont, people were not ready. They didn't understand how much they didn't understand or how much they missed about our culture. And I appreciate all of you being willing to put your faces and names and voices forward. We wanted to have a platform where people can talk about and represent it. And it's our uninterrupted space, but allow people to observe and understand that, from however young, from 15 up to, I don't know, I'm not going to pick whoever's the oldest in here, but, across the age range that we all share this experience in different parts of the country. Right now, we got, St. Louis, Nashville, Memphis,
Florida.
North Carolina. We are all over having the same experience. And people will convince you it's just the South, there's just that too. So that's part of how we can address it. It's those that can address it certain ways will. Always firmly saying, I have no problem saying it publicly here. We needed a voice like Martin. We needed a voice like Malcolm. We also needed a voice like Nat Turner. All of those.
Are you saying that we need both Dr. Umar as well as what's my homeboy who has the museum, Tariq Nasheed? We need both of them, right?
No, I don't think we need Omar, but but I hear what you're saying, and
everybody.
What I hope is that we come together and seriously, off of this, start discussing infrastructure and understanding that there's, no matter how much we talk and explain ourselves over and over again in interviews and podcasts and whatnot, that never has ever in this country resulted in any meaningful change. It's only been when we've when Black people have unified together under one purpose. And so I would just say for all of the Black musicians listening in and on this call that we're the only ones who can give ourselves equality in this genre and in this music industry.
In life.
No, it's a real thing. Like, one of the things I've tried to do is turn Piedmont Blues Preservation Society into a cultural institution, like I was saying, but a place that's an access point. We host meetings for community groups. Our Juneteenth Black Food Truck Festival in Greensboro needed a home after the transition of its leader to the city council, right? So great, we have more people in different faces on the city council, but this put a community event at risk. We're now the fiscal sponsor for it. You know what I mean? We host a community space where you can rent time for your band. In any of your areas, is there a place with full backline that you can rehearse your band for $50 for 2 hours?
No.
$85 for 3 hours?
We got a place like that where it's cheap like that, but they don't have backlines.
No.
We've got full backline though, but we can, as an institution,
I'm
we
in
can do
Chicago.
this. So
everything costs $1 million.
Right? That's the type of infrastructure that we need, right?
Yeah, that's also something that we have to discuss. The idea of who controls the community. Not even redlining, gentrification shoots up all those prices. Go ahead, Brother Tiva.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying, like, so you're talking about building infrastructure. I want to know that even this conversation is an example of building that infrastructure. YBNB is 4 years old now, and I have so many, I call a lot of them my little brothers, but younger artists that I've gotten to meet. And like, it's been the same conversation with all of them. Like, hey, I don't want nothing from you. I'm here to do my part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe we can help each other along the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the conversation, you know? And I want to meet you where you're at and help me understand, because you have an advantage I don't, being from your generation. You know, I got cats walking up to me talking about, oh, all you cats from the 1900s. And I'm like, yeah, what? But like, that's a real thing. And most of them are like 25 and up now.
I was about to
So,
say 2000s babies.
yeah. So
That's
it's
wild.
different now. So generationally, I think we have a responsibility to, like, you know, continue the conversation, but also open up the conversation. Fight against some of these generational curses that have kept the younger musicians separated from the older musicians. And I want to see, like you're talking about infrastructure, the building, and I hope that this whole conversation and movement of Young Black and Blues is part of like the building of a new generation of like the healthier parts of the Chitlin circuit. Not all the Chitlin circuit was healthy, but the healthier parts of that camaraderie, that network. Hey, brother, I'm in town. Who do I need to talk to? What do I need to do? Where can I get a cut?
I think that already does happen.
Yeah,
though.
that happens. That happens.
That does happen. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
And I definitely.
But I want to make sure that we just have, especially for the
Yeah.
younger artists, it can be hard to find, especially in our genre with everybody being so spread out, you know, people to find that network.
Well,
You know
if
what
you're
I mean?
ever in Chicago,
Like, it took
or in the
somebody like
Midwest, you
Sean
can
or
look
somebody to
me
turn
up.
me on to Matthias.
I'll let you
and
know
on
where
to
to go.
Dylan.
Yeah.
If we come to the chat.
Yeah, no,
So, you know, Focal
that
Line
happens.
International is going to be in Chicago next year. For those of y'all that don't know, Focal Line
Oh.
International chose Chicago for next year. They were in New Orleans.
got
this past
you.
year. So if you've never been, it was my first year this year. It was fun. There's also what is called the Black American Music Summit. So there's an affinity group that's a space just for us. I saw Sing a Bee play the Black American Music Summit. For any of y'all that are not familiar with Sing a Bee, and he killed it. Sing a Bee, you've been there more than once, haven't you?
I've been to the Folk Alliance in New Orleans this past year, and then I went to another folk festival in England a couple of months ago.
Okay.
So those were my first two folk experiences.
Cool. Very cool. What was your experience like with Folk Alliance?
I didn't deal with them. I deal with them through a third party, so the third party kind of interrupted my genuine experience, kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
That's fair.
I forget it. I'm gonna tell it what it is, because like I can't keep hiding all this information.
No, come on, bro.
For real. So
don't blow yourself up, but also
it's-
truth is welcome
it
here.
Is what it is. It's a group in Memphis. You know, I love what they were intentionally aiming to do. And this group, you know, they are the ones that booked me out there. And what their job is to find local talent and to facilitate different spaces and venues to broadcast and showcase these talents. In one hindsight, that's a great opportunity. On the flip side, if you're established, you kind of are a threat to their program, because if you're established, you can bring in opportunities from introducing you to them, but that will remove what they're aiming at. They're trying to bring as many resources, plugs, connections their way. So someone like myself was definitely a little too established for their program, but because you know I just I'm used to running stuff professionally, and they did stuff unprofessionally for me, so it kind of rubbed me the wrong way for that whole experience. To just put it in so many words, like I don't mind making an experience whatever it got to be. If I got to sleep in my car, if I got to you know, like whatever I got to do type thing, and not tell anyone, make it happen. And this type of experience was one of those things where I really feel like I was just like more affirmative, and I wasn't really part of the main picture. So and it wasn't just in New Orleans. The same thing happened in England as well. So I really got rubbed the wrong way with folk because of the people that was in the way. And the people who are in the way, they're not musicians. They're not writers. They're not managers. They've never been in the studio to sweep up. They're just there because they see that there's a job that someone can do to do it. And then they find the funds and resources allocated to whoever they feel like. But realistically, I genuinely feel that because they're not musicians, because they're not writers, because they're not the window of opportunity of what they're providing, which is great for some artists, that's going to become slim to none, because as you can see, AI robots algorithm is being able to replace easy jobs, which is what they're doing, the emails, the running up budgets. I mean, an AI program can do that. So if you're not being intentional, if you're not being personal, if you're not being impressionable with the people that you're working with the community that you're aiming to empower, that you're empowering these artists, you're not just using them, essentially helping them to grow as individual brands and businesses. But that's not what they want. They want for them to be the reason why this is happening, not for them growing. So, that's
That was your experience at the FAI?
yeah.
There's a couple of things, because I've been there a couple of times, and I'm on one of the committees. I know everyone. I'm definitely not saying you're wrong, because I saw what you saw, but I also know a couple of people that came out of there with a good thing. But what I was told, what I was told though, by a couple of them, and I could tell you who they are off air. It took them a few years before they found someone that you just described. Yeah. So it just depends on if you have that patience. I'm not telling you to,
right,
at all, because, but.
And I think he was saying also he was attributing the experience to the organization he worked with that brought him to FAI, not FAI specifically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He had, I think overall it was an okay FAI experience, but it was just the way that he had to do it was less than ideal.
Well, I didn't get a chance to even experience it. I didn't know that they had panel sessions. I didn't know that they had I thought the whole experience was just in that hotel room. I didn't know that it was.
Wow.
Huge,
I didn't know that there was anything other than performing in the hotel room.
So like they have the Black American Music Center, which is another great place that's already organized for us to
meet. Brandy and a few people.
You guys up with Bert. If you guys are interested, I'll send you Bert's info and y'all can talk to him about it. And he has really good perspective, so he can kind of break down his experience with Folk Alliance and the things that they're doing well and the places that there are opportunities, because like there are opportunities, There
are a lot.
I believe in what you said about building that infrastructure. Like this is one platform or one place that we can begin and try. And if you guys have questions or anybody online listening has questions about I do have the patience to have conversations with people that don't understand, and I do have room to do some of that labor, or at least point you in a direction, by a degree. I've not taken the route that Lamont has taken and gone and got the degrees. I've been working at
I was about to say, what route are you talking about? Go ahead. Sorry, I had to be clear.
Right? But and not everybody does, but it doesn't mean that you know less.
No, let me be clear.
Being self-taught in so many ways.
Let me be clear about something. Let me be clear, since you used that as an example, because you're not the only one. I really don't like that example whatsoever. I had heated discourse with a good friend of mine that's a mentor, an older woman, because she said, "You can't hear me? You cannot hear me?"
No, I can hear you.
Okay. I told her who my musical mentor was, and she said he's too educated. So I have a problem when a Black educated person, and I'm not saying that's what you're saying, brother. What I'm saying is we should never, ever, ever utilize the education of a Black person as a comparative to anything that's not positive, because a lot of the white folk that talk about the blues, and a lot of the white folks that we talking about, and a lot of the white folks that got tenure off the blues for the last 75 to 100 years perpetuated a narrative that if you can read, you can't play the blues. But from what I can see, all of us here can read. Don't make me pull my guitar out and start hollering. All right. So when
I definitely wasn't attributed the negative aspect.
Right, because what happens is, no, I know that, but this happens often, and you go to the church to learn how to sing. You go to the university to find out the name of the shit that you're doing. We all don't have to go.
What I'm saying is get it how you want it. Like I said, meet people somewhere. Yeah, but the work looks different. Somebody's
Yeah,
doing the same work we're doing right now in a kitchen,
in the
teaching their
basement.
child how to cook the family recipe.
Yes.
Somebody's doing it right now in community, doing a cooking class. Somebody's doing it in a book club. There's all these different ways that it can happen, and that's what I'm saying
Yeah.
is we all have different methods.
Oh,
So if
okay.
we look
Yes.
at building institution, and building that solidarity that I think Melody was describing, we have to be open to the fact that it looks different for everybody and find ways to accept that work. A really beautiful example of that is Rhiannon Giddens Biscuits and Banjos Festival, for those of you that weren't able to attend. Rhiannon Giddens is doing that. She had librarians and food lectures, and she has poets, and they all come together around this idea of Black culture. Now, hers is specific towards blues and old time and banjo, but it's the same culture. We had old time and banjo music before we had what we now know as blues in an organized form. So it's the
For reals.
continuation of the culture. And so I think that part about meeting people where they are is really, really important. That's why I'm always reaching out for like a Sing a Bee or a Carly with her indigenous perspective that contributes to it, and Anika that has been in the military and lived a lot of life and had experiences, and everybody has something different that they bring to it. But like Melody said, it's about us getting it all together under one roof so that it can have power. So that's it. Off my soapbox.
Can I say?
Oh, go ahead. Say.
I was gonna say I appreciate your perspective of calling it like culture, because at the end of all of my lectures, I say to people, especially as a response to music doesn't have a color, it's for everyone. And I'm like, art and music does not have a color, but it does have a culture. And if you give reverence to the culture it comes from, if you want to play it, you might play it better if you give reverence to the culture it comes from.
Exactly.
And
If
to its ancestry. Because if I take out the bagpipes, you know that I'm doing Scottish music, right? And if I start dancing ballet, you know that's a French art form because we named all the terms in French: plie, releve, torjeté, changement, all of those things, right? We're honoring where it comes from. So why can't we do that when it comes to blues? And
I think there's some reasons why. There's perspectives here that don't allow it to happen. People don't like to talk about the intentional disruption of blues culture. The fact that they would take away the drums or they would restrict the language or do this, and we found ways to maintain it regardless. But if we have this perspective and we live in a place where intentionally something was done to us, and now that has expanded multi-generationally as a perspective, how much more exponential does it take in the work to go back and correct perspectives that have already been set? So I'd like to bring people to this line with it, just in a very simple way where I say, hey, are you a music fan or do you support culture? Because people that have been buying records and going to blues concerts for years will tell you, I am the biggest blues supporter. And a lot of times what they mean is I go to more concerts than anybody else. I buy more t-shirts. I stand online for more signatures. I bought this. I memorized this history, but that's not it. Like we don't get Jimi Hendrix coming up, unless he survives his neighborhood, unless he survives police and bullies. If he can get a shot of penicillin, so he has health care. So public health is now a part of it, right, in this culture conversation, And so bringing all those ideals that make a culture together is a thing. The other thing is culture versus heritage. Heritage, if you look it up, is related to property. I don't like the word heritage. If you look it up, it's attributed to things, not culture, almost like Oriental and Asian, right? So I like culture because it includes, very specifically by definition, the lived experience, historically and currently. And in the blues, everybody wants to look in the past. I'm building the 21st century of the blues. That's what I'm looking at. And it doesn't mean I'm not looking back. That's why we did Women of the Blues. That's how part of how I met Anika originally, was trying to find people for my Women of the Blues, and it got canceled because of COVID. We were able to do one artist, but we brought Vanessa Ferguson, who's now just been in Hell's Kitchen and working with Alicia Keys as a songwriter and 2 roles on stage and all that stuff. It's amazing watching her journey from Greensboro and A&T State University. But we did a Nina Simone set
to show that she could do the old style, right? Then we came back with a complete pop set, and she's doing Sade and Lauryn Hill, and she wrote an original rap song about her grandmother Doris, right? And it's still blues, you know. So people like to believe and put us in these categories that we can't be this and that. But opening up people to the fact that blackness isn't a monolith and our culture isn't a monolith. Blues is not a monolith. It's one of the largest genres ever to exist, you know, and it's the beginning of all pop music. You know, when you take all that together, it has power, you know, and we know that, but people don't understand that it's cultural and there's ties to it. They think that they're doing something different than the 18-year-old that's going to a rave on a Friday night. And I tell them, what'd you do different? You bought a ticket, you bought a drink, you bought a t-shirt, you partied with your friends, and you went home, you know? And it's no guarantee that that artist got 100% of that ticket sale or 100% of that t-shirt sale or any of that, you know? So you have to do more. You have to come into our community, you know? Come volunteer with an organization like Piedmont Blues or one of your regional cultural organizations. Find a way to tutor in Black neighborhoods and libraries. There's lots of ways to do the work, you know? And for me, it's all blues work, you know? So,
but when you talk about culture, Atiba, how we also need to try and find a way to reach that younger audience. How can we do that?
I think we have to listen to them.
I wish. Well, Singer B is doing that first and foremost. Singer B is doing that. And by the way, LJ said, "What's up, big homie?" He told me to tell you that.
It's funny. It's funny you said that because today I had a Zoom meeting before this one with Sean, with Dylan, with Young Harrell, with Yellow P, J, Kingfish, Tyranny from Southern Avenue, Sade from Fifi and Drums. I mean, we literally had this exact same conversation today, and we're implementing plans. We have our first. I don't want to say too much online, but we've all had this conversation in separate spaces and separate times, and was like, how can we work together? How come we haven't done it? And I think it would be more young people attracted to the idea of blues if they were to see it. They just don't see it. They've seen E.J. Jones, they've seen Kingfish, they've seen this, but they see us peppered, sprinkled into the mix with a bunch of older people. And if they would see all of us in one room, picture, in one video, it'd be like some Wu-Tang type shit. You know what I mean? That'd be like, that's
it would.
Young. They could see themselves in it, the different styles, the different flavors, different jokes. You know what I mean? I mean, they need to see it, and there's nothing right now that's showing that. So that's something that we're working on currently right now is wishing.
Hey, Dylan, do me a favor, because this is an example of a program. Is Dylan still on here? Did we lose Dylan?
No, but I'm going to have to take off. I just want to say real quick, you all are great. This is a great thing. Seeing to see you right. If you go back and listen to the 36 Chambers, that's a blues album. I use that album in my lectures. But I have to go. You guys are great.
Thank you so
Anika,
much.
we got to catch up. And thank you for wearing my shirt when you on stage, sister.
The support is real. Look, to answer your question about the young, one of the things that I've done is find different ways to reach into them. My favorite one that I've done is the blues beat battle. That's why I was seeing if Dylan was still on here. The blues beat battle, right? Like young people like hip hop, great. So I do a blues beat battle. I give producers 6 blues tracks. They have to remix those into whatever they want. I've had them remix Blind Boy Fuller. I've had them remix Nina Simone. I've had them do Lead Belly. I've had them do Bob Margolin. I've had them do Dylan Triplett and DK. And I'm going to have one do Sean this year. So, but when you come in the room, the thing that surprised me from the first time I did it is the sentiment in community in a hip hop crowd, in a hip hop club environment is no different when I play a Blind Boy Fuller and a De La Soul track. there's a continuity of culture. So meeting people where they are. When I do my blues in the schools lectures, I'll open up. I used to use Otis, and then when Deja Cat came out with Vegas, I started using that because it has the Big Mama Thornton sample in it, right? The whole auditoriums of kids just be cranking, and the administration's looking at me. They're like, "I thought this was a blues program." I was like, "It is." Like, but then we get into the conversation, right?
You get to do that, show the connection, because even when we do blues in the schools in like Europe and stuff, a lot of times they need a song that is very popular, and you break it down for them, and then boom, then we can get into the rest of it.
All right, guys, I gotta go. They have a security issue in my venue.
Ooh, great. Well, Single B, I want to be on the project. Whatever y'all doing.
Yes, we will do more of this.
We ain't that old.
I'll reach out to y'all, and we'll have another conversation sooner. We don't have to wait a year to do these, but we will have more of these.
I'm gonna add you on the group, on the Facebook group.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah,
I'm gonna add you on the Facebook group.
Okay,
me too. Add me.
I read your lips.
Please.
Hit you on Facebook.
I got you. Yeah.
I appreciate y'all so much. One of the things I want to say I'm most proud of this conversation is we're finally able to engage with more female artists, because these conversations have been heavily male.
And they're needed with the black female voice, the cultured female voice needs to be included. I told someone last week during the Blues Music Award festivities, I said, Black women should not be an afterthought in anything y'all do in this industry. We should not be an afterthought. So basically fix it.
Well,
I don't know how else to say.
Thanks for hopping on. Because I think
let me see if I can get some sound back. I can't hear anybody.
Thank y'all.
I think it's done. I think we're done.
Yeah.
Okay, all good. Okay, I got.
Nice to meet you, Singer B. Well,
nice to meet you too. I'm gonna add y'all in the Facebook group.
All right.
Hopefully we'll bump into each other. But okay,
I know we will.
buddy, bye.
Y'all be safe. Have a good night.
Bye. You too.
There's a guy with a gun. Somebody to show stop.
We want to thank everybody for their time today. It was an amazing experience, and we're really happy to be able to do this. If you like this type of content, PiedmontBlues.org or info@PiedmontBlues.org. Send an email. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much to the Blues Foundation, and thank you to everyone that's a part of this conversation and the comments in the chat. We'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.